There's times I go, I mean, they don't have to have. I've been to tons of school visits where they have never heard of you in their life before you show up.
Who are you?
Yeah, exactly. One girl was like, "You're alive?" Because they had just been reading about Dr. Seuss and she thought all writers were not alive.
It's time for Gab and Doodle.
Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing? It's a Thursday night. Now, for those not in the know, this is the second night of the week that I'm doing a Gab and Doodle, which means that if we think about exponential growth, this one's going to be a good one. So tonight, Gab and Doodle with me, Mark Hoffman, and our special guest tonight is Shelley Johannes. It might be Johannes. I don't know which is the more proper way to say it. We'll find that out. But Shelley has done these books. There's a big old glare on this, but the Beatrice Zinker Upside Down Thinker. There we go. I can't say it right. These nice chapter books, a whole series of them. What are you waiting for? Let me sort of flip through a little bit so you get a sense of sort of what they look like. And then we add in More Than Sunny, which is here. Bright yellow cover. This is one of those books where I don't think I could ever achieve that sort of bright yellow color. But the thing that I love about Shelley's work is the, I said it in the ad, but this sort of sketchy, but also sort of like polished line that really shows up. So like the texture that's in there, the sort of graphite-y looking texture that shows up in all the sketching that's in here. And then this Joy is the last one that we have here for everybody to flip through. And so you get to see all the fun that's there. We're going to be chatting tonight and having a good old time. I'm going to get these out of the way so I don't get paint on them. My sketch for the night, this is what I'm doing. Again, I'm just doing a series of mock covers. This one is Maybe Cry Baby, about crocodile tears. And so this is sort of a fun play. I haven't done a wide thing in a while, so I'm going to do a wide thing. So let me let our special guest in. In fact, let me get it down to my face so you can see my face. YouTube, Instagram, both Studio Hoffman. And what I will do is I will put this up here. So then when I rotate, you get to see that. And then it's going to go to my ugly mug. There I am. Hi, everybody. So let me let our special guest in. And we'll get going for the night. Oh, right there. Take a little sip of my water while I wait. Now we're good.
Awesome.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm already getting stuff stuck to my fingers from my studio desk here, but thank you for joining us. We're big fans in the house, and we've been sort of following you for some time, and then when you said yes, we were very, very excited to have you on, and so we're super appreciative of it. Oh, I need to get back from my wife to get a little smiley face. She takes a photo at the beginning, like a screen grab that she can use for the thumbnail. She always yells at me, I'm so close to the camera.
It's hard not to be close.
Yeah, I know, so I'm going to lean back a little bit. So it's remind me, you're in Michigan?
Yes, I'm just outside of Detroit.
Okay, so is that East Coast time?
Yes. Yep.
That does not make any sense to me how Michigan is considered East Coast when you're that far into the country.
I know.
But
it's handy though. I like it.
Where does it must switch over right in Wisconsin then, right?
Yeah, I'm not even sure because Chicago's different.
Yeah, it's got to be.
I'm not sure where the line is.
It's got to be right up that. I used to live in Minnesota, and so like, I always think of like Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan as all central time zones. I don't need to get into time zones right now. we don't need to talk about that. But For those that are watching who do not know who you are, and again, shame on them, can you tell us a little bit, sort of give us a little brief bio about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I'm Shelley Johannes. I started out my creative career in architecture. I was an architectural designer. As a kid, I always wanted to be a novelist or an artist, and neither one seemed possible. They seemed like this thing that I wasn't really allowed to do. They seemed too lofty and not concrete. And I think part of that's because I never met anybody who did either thing, and
Okay.
I had all of these false things that I thought were attached to being able to do those things. So I went into
Gotcha.
architecture because it seemed like this logical, concrete thing I could do that was also creative. So my background is in architectural design, and then eventually the desire to make books never went away. And when I had my kids, I was reading them picture books, and one night I was reading David Shannon's How I Became a Pirate. And for some reason, while reading just the first sentence, pirates have green teeth, if they have any teeth at all. And like looking at the art in the words, I was like, how have I never thought of making picture books? Because it's writing and art at the same time. And it had never crossed my mind until that moment. And so then it was like a quest to figure out how to make that happen. So it took many years beyond that to finally make it happen, but I eventually entered the industry with the Beatrice Zinker chapter book series, and got to do both writing and art at the same time. It was a dream come true. It still kind of blows my mind that I really get to do this.
It's a real actual job and not,
exactly.
fantasy realm. Do you still do architecture stuff on the side, or is it?
No, up until when I got my first book deal, I was still doing some stuff. Like I did architecture for 10 years, and then right before I had my kids, I kind of phased out of it a little bit. The industry was kind of in a downturn, and I was getting burned out. I had a friend who had this awesome firm that I worked at. It was super creative, the dream come true. And then eventually that didn't make it. And then I moved into a more corporate job, and that's more what there was in the area at the time. And it was just kind of sucking the life out of me. And so I phased out of it and started doing consulting work in architecture, where I would do really rough illustrations for fundraising, and like where I would just make up a building with people using it, having a great time. And that was really fun. And I taught a little bit, and then eventually kind of moved from there into the books. And it became, once I knew I had the book deal with multiple books, I needed to say no to the architecture stuff. And I really haven't missed it very much, because a lot of the things I loved about that are still part of this. So
I can understand that. I mean, even like thinking about the architectural drawings, not the blueprints, but the architectural drawings side of it. Like your style actually fits. Like now that I'm thinking about it, like the sort of looseness of the, like, here's some trees and here's some people, and like there's a weird like connection between the two. But do you still get like random where it's like, oh, we got to build a deck out back? Someone like you know what, Shelley can do the design on that.
Every once in a while, someone will ask, but I always say no. I learned early on that always to say no, even when I was still doing it, because I realized how often people get sued when I still worked in the industry.
Oh,
like how even big companies, and so I always say no, because it's never worth.
I didn't think about the legal aspect of that. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
we don't have that
to witness it without having it to be personal pain.
Yeah, no one's suing you over a book right now. So
exactly.
you're in a much better space. So tonight we're gonna draw, we're gonna chat, we're gonna talk, we're gonna do all this fun stuff. But my wife is upstairs and she's documenting, and she likes to write down what you're actually using material-wise. So if there's brands and things of this sort, do you have a sense of what that's gonna be tonight? What you're actually making?
So I draw on tracing paper, which is because of my architectural background. Tonight I have this cream, I think it's BN thing. I don't even know if that's the right way to say it, but
I know.
tracing paper.
BIENFAG.
Yes.
Yep.
I usually use white, But because I usually add a cream background to my work in Photoshop, once I'm done, I thought I would just work on cream paper tonight.
Okay.
And then I have a mixture of a bunch of stuff. I have a bunch of pastels and markers and colored pencils. I'm probably just going to grab
Whatever it may be.
whatever.
Are there brands just in general that you favor in some of those? Like,
I don't know. I kind of like just randomly grabbing, having an assortment, but
yeah.
I don't know the right way to say it, but these Senlier pastels are kind of my favorite.
Okay.
Pastel, they're really soft and they're very messy, but I like them the best. So in this joy, I used a lot of those. And strangely, I use this regular Papermate Flare pen. Is still my favorite pen. Like I always, every book, I would try out all these special great pens, and this one still just feels the most natural to me. So that's still what I use. And then for the book I'm currently working on, I've been drawing the lines with this General's charcoal. So I might use some of that for my line work tonight. We'll see.
It's funny that marker or the pen that you showed, like, there's a big nostalgia factor. I know that, I have some here. I think I have the exact same one here. It's you said it was Papermate Flare.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the exact same thing. I feel like this type of pen has not changed in like 40 years.
Yeah.
And then you go get all these fancy pens that are all like they're like different colors and styles and whatnot. But this thing's been like a constant for so long. And I
wish it wasn't quite as translucent as it can be sometimes, but I still like the sturdiness of the felt tip and like the width of it. And so
I get it. I get it. There's a vibe to it. And then the other question my wife needs to know is, what are you going to be working on tonight? Do you have an idea?
I don't. I'm just gonna draw.
Okay.
That's usually what I do in the evening, is just randomly draw. So I'll probably just be doing some doodles. I might do some characters from other, former books, or I'm working on this new book with Carter Higgins is the author on it, and so maybe I might draw a couple of those characters if I'm feeling it.
It's interesting because you're in that situation. We had last episode when I have the Leanne show on, Adam Rex was popping in to comment, and Leanne did a Adam Rex book, and Adam does his own books, like illustrates them too, and same thing with Carter Higgins. Carter Higgins has illustrated some of their own books, and so there's this like dynamic of working on someone else's text, even though they are an artist. It's such weird, like I've never been through it myself, so I don't know the full like I guess the challenge in the brain of like, how do I impress? Why am I doing this? Why aren't they? Like all that stuff.
And I do get it a little bit. Thankfully, I haven't thought about that aspect of it too much, because I have respected Carter's words, like before she was published and before I was published, when she had her blog. And like, I really always, I always used to call her my favorite author who wasn't published yet. And so I usually think of her as a writer, even though she makes amazing artwork. And so in this case, I've just been really happy to work on something with her words, and I haven't thought too much about that aspect of it. I'm glad about. Hopefully I won't get in my head about it. But I have thought of writing something that I did not, and not illustrate.
Uh-oh. The audio just
so it doesn't seem weird to me, because I think that there's certain things that I wouldn't love to do the art for, and so I could imagine like happily handing that off to somebody else. So that helps me, I think. Try not to be intimidated by it.
Now, so everybody knows you have birds in the back.
Oh, I do. Are they really loud? I never noticed them. I'm so used to it.
There's a few chirps that came through, so everybody, you don't think that. My first thought was people are going to think that like your fire alarm is going off, or that like the beep that happens, but no, it's just birds in the back. You have like a few birds, don't you? Yeah,
we have one cockatiel, and that's who you're probably hearing, Max. He's the loudest. And then we have two parakeets.
Which are still loud, right?
They can be, but usually ours aren't. They're not too bad. They're usually happy. Where Max, the cockatiel, he's very persnickety. And so he misses my son, who's at college, but like commutes. But when he's not home, he'll be squawking for him. Every noise he hears outside, he's
You
yelling
think?
like, maybe that's him. Maybe he's
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. That's cute. We there was someone in our first year of running the show, I forget who it was, that was in Australia, and they were working in their studio, and they had their window open or something of the sort, and there was some like crazy sounding bird outside, clearly not just like a house, like a parakeet
Yes.
that would be in a house. It was some wild bird that just happened to be right outside their window. That was funny to that would squeak in every once in a while. But
So
so
fun. They have the best birds, I think.
yeah, they have, but they also have everything's trying to kill them in
That
Australia.
is true.
Every animal is out to get them. So tonight we're going to chat. If the conversation, I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to start with some softball ones, and then as we go on, they may get a little bit more like, what do I want to say, like therapeutic. I don't know what
Okay.
to call it. More like sort of like, how do we manage this job? How do we get through it? And so if anything gets too tough or you want to change topics, don't hesitate. And
Okay.
then time-wise, I want to be respectful of your time. If for some reason you decide that you're just done, you don't like the conversation, you want to get out of here, whatever, maybe your son comes home and you got to go answer the door, whatever it is, don't hesitate to just say, hey, I need to check out, and I will kindly send you off into the night. But why don't we switch to our downshoots and we'll just start going at it. And I have a feed here that's got about a 15-second delay, so I should be able to see everything. But if you try to show something, I might go, hold on a second, just so you know as it comes up. But
Okay, perfect.
here, let's. I do have the ability to watch, so if you need help setting up or getting in shot or anything of the sort, just let me know. And so while you're setting up, I'm going to ask you again some sort of softball questions, and you've already said some of these, I know, in writing, but just for those that are out there who may not know as much about you, can you give us a little more background of, the idea of not knowing that illustration is a career?
Oh yeah.
Is I think a commonplace for a lot of kids, just because when you're in school, you look at picture books and things of the sort, but the artwork they show you as a student is oftentimes, famous painters and things of the sort. And so I'm wondering, was there, when you were a little kid, did you have access to a lot of art and just didn't know contextually that it was, part of this larger thing called illustration? Or was it just where you grew up? Was it sort of just not a topic du jour?
Yeah, I think it wasn't really a topic. I feel like I had sort of a sheltered childhood and a bit. I had a really good art teacher in high school, but I don't remember really discussing illustration ever as a thing. We had an architecture program at my high school and a drafting program, so I think that the school I was at happened to have things that made me, see that was a thing. And my dad had a background in engineering and construction, and so the architecture thing seemed more realistic. And then a lot of the kids who were good artists in my art class were thinking of going to like more into fine arts, and that was not my thing. And I toured CCS, which is the art school in Detroit, which is an amazing school, but I was a very, very quiet kid, and I was like a high achiever student. So the art side of myself really was not the forward facing part of myself. But it was more like the secret joy of my life. So when I went and toured it, just because I think, I don't know, somebody offered it, I think with our art class, we got to go tour it. And it just felt really intimidating when I was there. It just felt like, is this the place for me? It felt like they were all doing like, I don't know, true fine art stuff, or automotive art, sculpting, that kind of stuff. So it just didn't, I think if it had been presented differently, maybe I would have believed it was a thing. Like for a while I looked into going into advertising, but I decided I was too quiet for that. And so, yeah, I don't think I had much exposure.
That CCS is known for their like automotive. Obviously you're in Michigan. That's
exactly
a known thing. Would you do me a favor on your
Hmm.
screen and
Hmm.
pinch your feed, and I think you can zoom out a little bit. I think it's showing up a little tight, like
Like,
on
should I,
the shot. Oh, that's much better, much better.
better?
There
Okay,
you go. Thank you.
perfect. Thank you.
Um, it was just sort of such a tight close up.
Too close up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna raise it a little
The
bit more.
now the school that you went to, was it a technical high school or was it a?
You know, it's just a regular high school. We just had a decent, like, we had a really good art teacher, and I took a lot of art classes and kind of maxed out and took some independent study, but we just happened to have an architecture couple classes you could take.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is that no one had ever taken the class who actually cared about it. And so when I was like, a bunch of guys took it whose family were in construction, but none of them had ever gone to school for architecture. So when I took the class and a couple other girls took it with me, the teacher like had to like redo the class and actually make us have a book and tests and stuff, because he was like, oh, people care about this now, yay.
It
And
was like
so
the pottery class that all the kids take because they think it's easy, and
yeah.
they realize that it's not, or they're using it for a grade, not necessarily for their education of some sort.
Yeah.
Um, and then obviously, were you drawing at the time? Were you actually like doing what would be technically called illustration in your sketchbook, or was that sort of not a factor until you knew more about the actual industry?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I was doing any what I would call illustrating. Like when I was a kid, um, I always drew people. Like I loved drawing faces, and I drew lots of clothes. I had considered going into fashion design, but that also seemed like a fantasy thing. And then I drew a lot of floor plans of houses, and I used to always draw those things. And but they never were. I wouldn't really say it was illustrating. It was just me drawing for fun.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to tell a story or anything at that time. And then, yeah, I don't think anything like that started until I had that moment reading a picture book with my kid, where I had this like aha moment of like, oh, how have I felt kind of silly for
Never connecting the two.
yeah, I just,
Well,
yeah,
I imagine you weren't really exposed to it in the same way, after being a kid. It's not like you're going through high school and everybody's going, hey, you know what you should go look at is this picture book. Or
right,
you should go look at these
exactly.
early readers, because man, you'll enjoy reading these. It's always it's you sort of move on to the next stage of education and it gets left behind.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
Now I do know when I was at school, I went to RISD, excuse
Mm-hmm.
me, undergrad, and they have an architecture program, and the rule of thumb was there are two really, really tough programs at the school. Like RISD was known for being tough, and what it really was the industrial design and architecture programs had amazing amount of homework and
Mm-hmm.
study, and because of all that engineering, like you have to understand some actual science
Yeah.
for doing that. Was the when you got into that side of things, was that something that was sort of the same thing? Like you were sort of faced with having to deal with some of these headier or more challenging education experiences, or was it relatively standard fare at the school that you were at?
It was very architecture focused. Like it's not a liberal arts degree.
Yeah.
So right away, everything, which was really strange, is I loved reading, and I didn't read anything for the whole 4 years I was in college because it was so busy
Oh
with
wow. Okay.
other things. There was only one writing class, and it was technical writing. So that was kind of odd, but there was tons of, like, right away you're doing visual communications and basic design, and I'm trying to think what else, but lots of stuff that was just very architectural and design oriented.
Yeah.
It was, and we took calculus, like there was some math and
Yeah.
science, and we did structures and physics and that kind of stuff. And that wasn't hard for me. I didn't enjoy that aspect of it, but it was a very grueling curriculum, just the projects. It was
Yeah.
intense. Like we never slept.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it all seems so silly because why it didn't it there isn't really a payoff. There was no need for it to be torture because it was just doing fun projects, but it wasn't fun when it was like you never get to sleep and there's too many of them and stuff. So, I mean, the cool thing was like getting to know people and explore creativity, and like a lot of the design thinking that I learned during that process applies to writing and art. And so, I mean, it was worthwhile education for me, and I met a lot of awesome people.
It's one of those industries that I like. The amount of homework that was given by those teachers, because I even had a 3D class that was given by an architecture teacher, and we actually had to complain to the department head because we didn't have time to do any of the work that was asked. Like the amount of work was excessive for a freshman level, and it was this teacher, it was her first time teaching outside of the architecture department. And I remember thinking like, man, what do these kids have to go through in this architecture class? Like, what kind of expectations are on them? And, you know, ultimately now I look back at it and I go like, there is value in that sort of like honing your skills and being able to handle multi-project tasks and all these things. But I did not envy anybody that went into that program because of my experience. But you say that it like translates where, like, I understand the idea of design thinking, which is, you know, you try things, it doesn't work, you go back to the start and you try new variations. And it's not for those that are listening, it's not like I'm going to feel out my emotions. Like there's some goal you're trying to achieve in design thinking often. Yeah. So I'm wondering that idea of it transitioned nicely for you. In what capacity was it, connected? Yeah.
So I don't even know how much I myself use true design thinking in the way that you're talking about, because that is like the true way. But for me, the same thing is the idea that you have something in your head that's not concrete, and there's all these goals attached to it. Sometimes it might just be a visual goal. With architecture, a lot of times it's both visual and it's serving a purpose. It's meeting needs, it's meeting code. But then taking this thing that's in your head that's very loose and not tied down, and then finding a way to make it real. And that struggle, just the creative process, I think is the exact same thing to me. Like my brain is always this muddle of high hopes and things that make you excited, and you don't know like where's that leading me and how am I going to get there. And I don't know, it just feels the same to me. The process of making art, the process of making a building, writing a story, it all has, like, what appeals to me about it all is that exact same feeling of having something elusive in your mind and then seeing it become more and more into something that somebody else can experience and you can experience it. So I used to love making architectural models. And my biggest dream would be like, if I could shrink myself down so I could go inside of my little balsa wood models and like experience it for real. And so I feel like writing and drawing is that same want of like, I want to get in here and like feel this thing, and I want to share it with somebody else and have them think it's real too. And I don't know.
Like one of the things, thinking about that idea of like trying to achieve something that's in your head, and especially when you mentioned balsa wood, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about like all the models and things that you have to make. Yeah. But now that you're in illustration and you're and writing and things of the sort, does some of that like precision that's there somehow fight against, because like when I look at your style for illustration, it's very loose and it's very fun and energetic, and then I think of like architectural drawing, and no offense to architects out there, but that's not the first thing that comes to mind. It's like, man, you know what, that drawing they did is the most beautiful loose thing in the world. It's always like, okay, that's functional, and that's, I mean it's form and function, but it's not expressive in the same capacity that illustration is. And do you have that battle still of like the precision and the
I mean, sometimes like my goal is always to get more loose, stay more loose. I feel like it's always a battle. Like whenever, like what I used to like about Instagram before the algorithm was a little bit different is like just seeing people's artwork. And I, besides just loving seeing people's work, I love judging my own visceral response to it of like what thing makes me want to stop and go, oh, and it's always work. Like how you have all your colors going together right there. Like that would make me so, so happy if I was scrolling. And so I would try to take note of like what makes me happy when I'm looking through other people's work. And it's always things that are layered and loose and so I'm always striving to like lean into that. In my architectural work, that's the part of it I liked the most was the loose early sketches, which is what became hard for me when my friend's firm closed, because it's hard to find that job in architecture where you get to be that if you if you live in this area especially. And I feel like there's more places that have risen up again, but during that time period it was hard for places like that to stay alive. And so like I had been given a job. I got a job when my friend's firm closed, and it was supposed to be this great design job, and instead they gave me a school to work on, and I was going to be working on it for 3 years, and it was just take the school we already did and then just make it for this new site. And I told him, I'm like, if that's what you're really going to give me to work on for 3 years, like I can't stay. Like it already makes me feel so claustrophobic to know that I won't be able to use that side of myself, and I would only be able to do the really technical side of it like that. I don't even think I could make myself endure that. Where when I worked for my friend's firm, there was just 2 of us and sometimes 3 of us. And when you're working on the technical side, it's to fulfill the really loose stuff you already did and make it a reality. So it gives you a purpose. You're like following through on your vision. So it made it bearable. Like sometimes it'd be give your creative brain a break occasionally to do the more technical side. But anyway, what I excelled in was doing loose, sketchy drawings, even in architecture. So I don't really feel like it's fighting. It's really, what I like about both is really similar.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, just that idea of if they were giving you a job, that basically is repeat what we already did.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I could put up with that either. I think I'd be driven nuts.
And I don't think they could relate to why that would drive me crazy at all. They were just they just looked at me like I was crazy. So that's kind of the thing that made me leave, and I was okay with it.
Have you thinking about the transition into illustration? Obviously now you're in this job that allows you freedom and you get to write your own stories and illustrate them and things of that sort. But have you kept in touch with those folks? And did they, like, has anybody come back and gone, I knew it. I knew this was the thing that you were headed towards, whether you saw it or not?
There's quite a few people I keep in touch with. One of the people that I was working with at the firm that I left was really influential in what my artwork became. Because before I was published at a traditional publisher, I picked up some illustration jobs for really small publishers in our area, in the Detroit area, that were making like educational type of books. And so I was like dipping my toe into that world. And I started out with work that was much more realistic than what I do now. And I just had these ideas of what it should be for whatever reason. And I brought some of it into work after I already didn't work there anymore. And this one guy, Patrick, he was like, oh, I'm so disappointed. And I wasn't expecting anybody to say that. And it was kind of blunt at the time, but he said, I just imagined that your book work would be an extension of your architectural stuff that I love. And I just thought it would be more Madeline-esque. And as soon as he said that, I was just like, yeah, why isn't it that? And it was just like, I had a huge disconnect between my loose architectural stuff and what I started doing for picture books in my first, thankfully, like small projects that didn't really matter. Like I don't hate that artwork, but it didn't bring the joy that being loose did. And so it felt harsh in the moment, but even like shortly after that, within the same week, I was so glad that he said it. because it just made me realize, like, and Madeline was my favorite book when I was a kid. So it was just interesting that he said Madeline, and I realized, like, oh, it can be very similar to what I've already been doing. I can be loose and
Yeah, he just did a shortcut to what you needed to hear.
yes. And it made me realize, like, oh, I've got to get out of, I can't say yes to any more of these projects that I'm doing, these little projects that aren't a representation of me. To like get out of it, I need to like step back and believe I can really do this and like pursue it for real. And so that kind of was the moment that let me quit doing that stuff and think about what eventually became Beatrice.
Now, did you dedicate a book or anything to him and say?
I didn't. I probably should. I don't even know
Yeah.
if he knows that, like, that really.
That's the idea that it's that little, like I always ask people when was the moment that you knew kind of situation. And obviously you said the thing about reading reading books to your kids and things of the sort, but that's also one of those ones where it's like just that one moment, that one word was enough to sort of make you go, oh, this isn't my true calling, even though it seemed like it was, or it seemed like it was maybe a better fit at the time. But all of a sudden it's like, oh no, this is close to, it's adjacent, but it's not the actual thing.
Yes.
Now, obviously, when you're illustrating now, there is this like loose aesthetic, and I mean that the best possible. It's one of those things that a lot of people try to achieve, myself included. I try to be loose, but I stiffen up in a lot of ways when drawing. Like I go back to some I get too tight. Let's just put it that way, just in general. And so you have this like little bit more loosey goosey style. Sorry for the technical term, loosey goosey style. But when you realize that, when you heard that from him, say, "Hey, I'm disappointed," or I was expecting different, or whatever it is. How was it? Like a transition? Was it a switch that flipped, and like the next day you're like, "Let me get out my sketchbook," and boom, there you are. Or was there some evolution that had to happen, and some like decision making on your part to get to now?
Yeah, it definitely was a long process. I had no idea how to transition to it. I just knew like what I was doing at that point. Once he said that, I realized that it was true and that it wasn't a true representation of myself. But I didn't know. Like when I drew architectural stuff, there were no faces. It was just like a lot of fun, like loose, like like people who are standing, like that kind of architectural person where you just like they're standing there sipping something, but they have got like a head but no face. And so I was just trying to figure out what is that translation to a kid's book that doesn't feel. I had this big fear. Strangely, a weird thing about me is that I hated cartoons my whole life. I have no idea why. And so my sister loved cartoons, and I detested them. I had this huge aversion to them. So I didn't want to draw what I perceived as cartoonish.
Do you still have that?
I do. I've grown to appreciate it more over time. But so I was kind of torn. Like, I don't want to be cartoonish, but I didn't really know because I didn't have any exposure. Like, what else is there? And I had been reading lots of books to my kids, but I hadn't been paying attention like that. So while I was working on the idea of Beatrice, because she showed up to me when I was at the library, I pictured this girl upside down in a ninja suit stealing a bunch of books. And so I wanted to make like my love of books and this girl turn into something. And so I spent a lot of time using just what would she look like, and filled notebooks of just horrible drawings. And I studied a lot of picture books that I liked, and I would just think like, what do I respond well to and what don't I like, of things that seemed like in the realm of what my work could be. And and then I would just kind of like practice drawing this character in all these different ways. And one book that really influenced me is the INSOMNIACS by the brothers Hiltz. And it what I it was kind of like a turning point for me in that their little. Let me see if I can find their character.
This is I'm trying to remember the names. Is it Sean? Sean
Um,
and
it, I can't remember what their first names are because they go by that. But
his brother Hiltz. Yeah, they
yeah,
were local
Ben
here.
and
Are
Sean. Yeah, you are right.
yeah. They're, my wife
Um,
used to work with one of them actually,
oh no way, that's so
and
fun.
had a day job that I don't know. I don't think he's still there, but and I didn't realize it. And then she was like, "Oh yeah, I work with one." I'm like, "What?"
That's so crazy.
Yeah,
How fun. I just their work made me so happy, and I realized it's so like accessible but not cute. It had this like almost ugly factor. I don't know if that's the right word, but like she was just so quirky,
yeah,
and that felt more true to who my character was too. And so that kind of pushed me in a direction that felt more good at the time. Um, so anyway, that's a long answer too. It took me a while, and I still am like, I don't fight that as much anymore. Like I feel like my characters got more cute over time in the way that I don't fight it anymore. I don't care.
yeah, yeah.
But at the time it mattered. And
And now, like, do you think that because there obviously there is a evolution that does happen as we
yeah.
all work?
Yep.
Um, do you think that that evolution? I mean, this is the battle that I always have in my head when thinking
Mm-hmm.
about sort of making art is how much of it is a choice
Mm-hmm.
and how much of it just naturally comes from your hand. And obviously, like
Yeah.
when you're thinking style or you're thinking like in this case the cute factor or the cartooniness or whatever it may be, there's always this challenge of um, how much of it is you like thinking, hey, I need to try doing this, and how much of this is I made this thing and oh look, it came out that way. Like
Yeah.
whenever I make a piece, I definitely have this vision of like, oh, it's going to be so cool. I'm going to try this new thing. But then in the at the end of the day, it's like, oh, I kind of not necessarily fell back on what I already know, but I lean on certain things whether I want to or not.
Yeah. I totally relate to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to push it more different ways that I'm imagining. And then, yeah, it always ends up back to whatever is. I mean, I think I was listening when you and Leanne were talking on Tuesday, and she was saying that about your style is what comes out of you, or like your personality, which
Yeah.
made me think about how mine is loose because I also don't have the patience to be non-loose, really.
Okay.
Because I just,
Gotcha.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And so I did relate to that of like, I can't help but be quick because that's all that seems good in the moment.
Well, wait, how fast are you? Are you someone like that? I mean, obviously, like you're moving on to drawing after drawing, and I'm still here.
Yeah.
I'm just putting down the base level here, and I wish it was fast, but that's just not the way that this works.
Yeah.
But are you someone like? How long do you normally take to do a picture book?
Forever. Like I'm not fast, which is funny.
Oh, okay.
They take me so long. And so like I hardly get any sleep when I'm working on them because even when I'm trying to be fast, it's never fast. But what is fast is like the drawing of the line work of the characters. I feel like that part goes fairly quickly, but and maybe not even that quickly because I want it to feel loose, like I just drew it, but
Yeah.
like the cover of Beatrice, I drew 100 times, and I still would want to redraw it more. But
Okay.
so just like doing this loose drawing that captures what you want to capture requires drawing after drawing after drawing, and I just have like tons of tracing paper
Yeah.
piled up because I got the foot showing just how I wanted it to, but then her eyebrow isn't quite right. Like just stupid little
Gotcha.
details can change the way everything feels.
It's the polish that it's the like final coat that it doesn't that takes the longest in a way.
Yeah, like I run through ideas really fast
Yeah.
and sketchy, and then a lot of the work I'm doing quickly, but then the putting it all together takes a really long time as well because when I'm doing my color, I don't do it all in one thing. I'll have like a layer of marker for grass that's being puddly in different colors, and then I'll have a layer of different pastels, and then I don't know, I just have layer after layer that then in Photoshop I put them all on top of each other and move them around, and that takes forever as
Mm-hmm.
well. And then I'll think, oh, it needs more depth and more texture, and so then I'll do another round, and then I have to scan all the pieces, and so it ends up being very time consuming, unfortunately.
That idea of, especially like, I totally get the like looseness factor and having to resketch over and over and over again. I mean, I like to do hand lettering on things, and oftentimes that's the thing that gets to be the problem.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, that one E just doesn't look like the other one, and so I got to go. That's the thing that slows me down, is that polish probably is the point that I least admire about the industry,
Yeah.
or my approach to the industry. Let's put it that way.
So hard. Yeah.
obviously you've figured out some sort of equation though that works for you, that you're able to put together a book that's lovely and have people excuse me, go out and buy it and all this fun stuff. But do you find that once it's done, with that idea of trying to get it perfect, or that idea of trying to find the right balance, do you still like look back at your work and go, oh man, one more pass, I wish I had one more moment
Yeah, there's always things that I would want to do better, but usually by the end I've worked on it so long that I'm okay moving on. Because you're just so worn out and you're like, okay, I did my best, and of course there's always things that I could wish I would have, like, one thing that I want is always for there to be more variation in tone and color, more texture, like more lights and darks in certain areas, because sometimes in person it has it, but then when it translates it doesn't have as much as I want it to. So there's always things that I want to work on, but then sometimes in the time pressure you don't get to work on it as much as you thought you were going to in the next one. But
I mean, I have a book that I handed off not that long ago, and I just got notes back finally on the final art, and there's no art changes. There's no like,
whoa,
well, wait. There's no like, move this character here, this line is in the way kind of thing, etc., like that. All that's there basically is color adjustments. But it's totally if I could spend forever, like I'm trying to meet a deadline, and to me it was loosey-goosey, and I was like, oh, I'm going to be playful, and in the end obviously I need to be a little bit more careful in the coloring from page to page, but I also, like, it was one of those ones where it's a deadline and I'm going, oh, I need to make sure I get this in. And it's going to take a day or two to adjust the colors, but that balance of like how much polish to put in, how much to focus on those details versus just kind of hoping and praying in a way that the art director we need to change this whole thing. Do you get what I mean? That's actually a great sort of question that I can ask, which is, because you are playing in a relatively like loose, sketchy aesthetic, how much sort of critique and how much challenge do you get from art director, editor on those? Like, I mean, obviously if you're doing multiple passes for yourself to get it perfect, hopefully it's perfect and there's nothing coming back. But I'm sure
there still always is stuff. I mean, especially in the earlier like submissions of the rough art, or usually the more comments are in that part. But yeah, I mean, there's still always our stuff. My goal when I turn in final art is that there's almost nothing. Like, my goal is always nothing, that there's not going to be anything. But even that, there always is still something you forgot, or something, I don't know, that they just want shifted a little, or sometimes a whole spread they might change their mind. But I always feel like a failure if there was a continuity thing or a color thing, but it's hard. You can't be perfect. So I always want there to not be that, but
that idea of a layer that you forget to turn off.
Right. Yes.
There's something. It may be the smallest thing in the world, but I think I feel like there's um, the teacher in me looks at it and goes like, if a student brought in a perfect, it doesn't matter how perfect it is, I still would find something to talk about in that situation. And I don't know if it's just because I want to critique, or if there's part of it could be like I don't want them to think that the next time they do this, that it's going to be smooth sailing.
Right.
Or I'm going to give them a little bit of guff just to make sure that they like are on their toes.
Yes.
Going forward of some sort.
I know it'd feel weird if there was nothing.
Yeah.
But one of the best lessons I learned in life, I learned in architecture school from a first year basic design teacher who was also our assistant dean of architecture. He decided to teach me that lesson. And I still am mad about it, but also it was one of the best lessons I learned. But we, pre-computer, we had to design a poster of anything we want. So I had this like fashion design type of loose ink drawing, and you had to get approval based on your rough sketch to paint your poster. And he never would approve mine. All these people had all these crappy ones that they didn't even try. And he's like, sure, go to the final. And the project was already due and he wouldn't even approve it. He'd be like, I'll do some more. And one day I got really mad. I'm like, I don't understand, how many more could I possibly do? And all of these are better than the ones that everyone just turned in. He's like, yeah, I know, that wasn't what you needed to learn. You didn't need to learn how to do posters this week. I'm like, what? And he's like, you needed to learn that you're never going to get to use your first drawing, your first idea, or your second or your third or your fourth. And if you can believe that every time you can come back with something better, with a good attitude, he's like, then you'll go far. And that's what I thought you needed to learn this week. And I'm so mad about it. But I think about it all the time. And yeah, that's probably the best lesson I learned in college. But
it was a life lesson, not a art lesson.
Yes. Yeah. And I was a person who was so tightly wound. I just wanted an A. And he wanted me to learn
what did
the
you
process.
Did you get a good grade on the project, or was it?
I'm sure in the end, yeah. So I had a lot of professors give me bad grades on purpose because it bugged them that I wanted a good grade. So I probably was annoying, but I don't agree with doing that to somebody. But
were you the person checking in, going like, "How's my grade today?"
Probably. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if it was that bad, but I did, like, because I wanted to be a valedictorian in high school so I could get a college scholarship. That was like my whole goal from 8th grade on. It was very hard to change out of that mindset going to college, and our college definitely did not work like that. They didn't really believe in A's, and that was very hard for me to process for a long time. I wish I could have learned that sooner. My kid is now going to that same college, and he's going for game design, and he's not like me at all. He's does not care about his grade at all. He's just all about what he's working on, and I'm glad for him. He did not inherit that from me.
You're glad for him that he's not worried about it, but are you worried about the grade? Is that the?
I still have to make myself not ask his grade because I still have that in me. But I don't want to pass it on. So
art school grades are very strange, and like some of the teachers are so subjective. Some of them have a rubric. Some of them, like, it's a clear goal that you have to do. Some of them are so like artsy fartsy and just go like, do whatever you want. Like there's no consistency from class to class. So it's it's kind of hard to bank on, I'm going to get a good grade in this class versus this one. So yeah, no, don't come down on him too hard. But if he fails, that's a different story.
Yeah, and he has some scholarships from the school, so I'm always like, so just like make sure you're getting the grade that's going to make you still have your scholarship. But you have to tell me anything. So I think he's doing fine.
We just got our son's report card for he's in middle school, and we're parents, we're worried about and things of the sort. And of course, it came back fine, but there were visions in our head. Not sugar plums, but we had that the grade would be bad here or there or whatever it was. And it's nice when you get that grade back and it's not the end of the world. It's actually like a nice sweet number that is not problematic of any sort. So tell me a little bit about that entry into Kidlit. Like, obviously you have an agent, you have all this stuff, and you you made this leap of faith at some point from architecture into Kidlit,
Mm-hmm.
but how much of an education, how much did you have to go through to get to a point where it felt like, oh, I can make this leap and not sink immediately, or not, there's some level of learning that has to happen.
Yeah.
And what was that process like for you, basically, is the question.
So I had to give myself, once I decided I was interested in it, I gave myself just like a book education of like, at my library, I was thinking I was going to be doing only picture books. Like I wasn't thinking of a book like Beatrice. So I just always took out a giant bag of books every few days from the library and just did so much reading and studying of both the words and the art, and felt like I had to catch up. I still feel like I'm behind in that area. When people reference all these classics or interesting ones, I still feel like I have so much, like I wish I had a broader reference. But anyway, I purposely did that and studied them and kind of like typed a bunch of them out to see like how they were working, and went through that process for a couple years. A lot of my block into doing it was mental, of not believing I was allowed to. And so for me, the biggest turning point after like doing all this studying was one day just scrolling Twitter, I read this quote by Joss Whedon that said, "Whatever makes you weird is probably your greatest asset." And I was like, all my creativity had been so tamped down my whole life. I think I just accidentally received this message in my childhood that creativity was my flaw. Like creative thinking, I don't think was necessarily valued in the people around me. And so I had just kept such a close lock on it that I couldn't really believe in my own creative side. Even though it was there, it just was like, I always was viewing it as a flaw, which now sounds crazy. And it's hard for me to even relate to that part of myself now.
Yeah.
But when I read that, I just didn't even seem like that could be true. And for me, weird things, they weren't even that weird, but just like, I was always in my head as a kid, making up stories, and I always felt like that was a bad thing about myself, that I was just in my own world, and that somehow that was a flaw. That I wasn't outgoing, and I was just this fanciful, illogical, quiet kid. And so I decided when I read that, because it was so jarring, to see, well, what would be different in this quest to make a book if I believed that those things were my strengths and they were good. Like, could I lean into that? And the day after I read that is when I first pictured Beatrice when I was at the library. I pictured this girl who wanted to steal all the books, and I was just paying attention to my imagination instead of where I might have pushed it away. I was like intrigued by this character I was imagining, and I was afraid to lose this moment where I felt like I was having a personal breakthrough, like a psychological breakthrough. And I knew that one of the things that scared me about the industry was the idea of getting an agent, because I was so quiet. I just, the way agents are portrayed in media is just this one very specific way, which, you know, is just made up for film, but still it scared me. And so the day that I had the idea for Beatrice, I went to the bookstore and got out one of those guides where it lists all the publishers and editors and agents. And I found this, I read through every agent, and I found this one person who was featured in it that year, and just immediately felt like this is a person I can trust, that I would love to work with. And in the small bio, somehow I felt like this person is funny and intelligent, and also might like sweet and sentimental things. And one of the people that he represented was an artist that an ex-boyfriend of mine was really into, that I felt was kind of obscure. But I felt like, oh, if he likes these things, like I feel like I can trust this person. And so I needed in my own mind a specific person that I was going to be submitting to eventually, even though I knew that that would be ridiculous, that you could have this one person you wanted to submit to and that anything would become real of that. But I just didn't even let myself think of that not happening. I just was like, this is what I'm doing. And I still worked with that same character for a couple years and turned it into a picture book. And I didn't have any industry, like I didn't follow anyone in the industry. I tried to stay out of it as much as possible because I didn't want to psych myself out, because I felt like everything was really, my creativity and my guts were like shy at the time. You know, I didn't want to like psych myself out of it. And so I just
set yourself up for failure.
I didn't want to see who else might be also wanting to make this dream come true and how good they were at it. I just only was in my own brain. And after a couple years, I couldn't make the book any better, my book dummy. And so I decided just to send it. And then he wrote me back the same day. And that still, everything about how it all worked out still amazes me. Because I had written this picture book. And when he wrote me back, he said that he's really intrigued by the character, but he thought that I accidentally created a chapter book character, and that he didn't think I should waste it on like a one-off picture book when you could build a whole series off of this character. Yeah. And so really that was just so monumental in the whole rest of my development, because then I didn't know about chapter books, and he was just saying, you know, if you wanted to find an agent for this, you totally could, but if you're interested in pursuing it in that direction, you know, maybe we could work together. So he really took me through like the trial and error process of making a book, of writing in ways I hadn't even been considering. So I read tons of chapter books and analyzed what they were doing, and then I would try to write a few chapters with drawings and send it on, and then he would let me know like what I did wrong, what I did right. And I was making really silly, you know, very amateur mistakes in storytelling, and so he would just kind of like point out where I was going awry and what I should shoot for. And then after about 6 months of that, I kept falling short in everything I was sending. Like there kept being something to work on that then I wouldn't know how to solve it. And so I felt like, shoot, I got this far and I don't know what if I don't have it in me? I just don't have that one little extra bit of myself that's good enough to make this happen. I was kind of like at the end of myself, and I didn't want to let go of it because I was so close and had worked on it for so long. And so I kind of was like, well, here's the last idea I have in my head about this. I'm just going to make it. And then I sent it to him and he wrote back, bingo. Like I figured out like the voice and the story, and like I still had to write a whole book, but yeah, it was like that was me learning like how to write and how to write the pacing and the, you know, just what a chapter book for that age would need to be. Yeah. So that was kind of like a very small, I mean, it felt kind of grueling in the time period, but then really that was such a short, compressed timeline to learn how to make a book. And I could never have done that on my own at all. So I'm endlessly grateful that he had the patience to go through that process with me, and that he made it fun, and that he kind of like, I don't know, like set a bar higher than what I felt like I had in me, and like made me like reach to attain that in myself. And so that's always going to be a really special time period to look back on for myself.
It sounds oddly like that teacher who wanted you to keep trying over and over with that poster design.
Yeah. It does sound a lot like that.
They listen, huh? You can do better, and I want you to see you.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you've been in the industry long enough. Do you feel like it's still that? I don't mean long enough in like, man, you've overstayed your welcome, but more so, you understand the principles and things that are involved. But do you still feel a little bit shy about like getting out there? Because it sounds to me like one of the initial issues is just sort of like being out there and being proud of your work. Yeah. Sort of not connecting to people because you were afraid that it wasn't going to work out. Like, do you still have those same concerns now?
I don't think so. I mean, it's hard to know if there's not. I still am. There's still a huge part of me that's that quiet person,
Yeah.
but along with making my first, like the making of Beatrice was a personal evolution in my own being of like embracing who I really am creatively. And so it was a very freeing time period, and it also gave me like a purpose to my work that I never expected. And that soon when I finished Beatrice, I got to go on a book tour for books 1 and 2, and it was like I was thrown right into doing school visits as part of the book tours. And so I had to make a school visit presentation, which ends up tying really into that idea of like embracing your own weirdness, your own creativity. And so it gave a purpose to my journey and to my work that I didn't really have before. And that has made me not feel shy, because now I'm meeting all of these kids who were like me. And I think it's just made me more confident in general, sharing myself and my work. And
You're no longer alone
yes.
in the fight of well, not fight, but in this world that you have, you're connecting to people in a way that potentially you didn't see before or what have you.
Yeah.
Do you still like thinking about that idea of trying to find yourself and trying to explore? Remember how I said this is going to get into therapy?
Yes.
Here we are. It's I feel like I like to talk about these things that are like big world questions and things of the sort. But do you still feel like you get that struggle on a regular basis of, this is my true calling? Or do you think you're at a point now where you've essentially hit some sort of benchmark that you're going, oh, I don't have to have this question in the back of my head on a regular basis? I mean, I still have moments in my daily life that I go, oh man, I don't know if I've, if I'm right for this. Imposter syndrome sort of, I guess, is really.
Yeah, I definitely still struggle with that. And both regular imposter syndrome and then just the realities of the industry. Like I had this, not this summer, but last summer, like this summer of grieving the industry, because financially, like at the beginning, I had 2 good book deals for multi-book deals, and I was able to do it full time, and it was more than a full-time job. I was working a lot of hours on everything. And then I don't have those deals right now. And so the financial aspect came into play, and I had to decide to go get a different job. And that was just really hard. It felt like walking away from this dream that I worked so hard to believe I was worthy of, and that I get to do, and that I was meant to do, and just like fighting the realities of life. And so it was a hard summer. But now I think I'm at a good space, though I still don't know the answers to all those questions. But I took a job at my kids' high school as a building sub. And so you work there every day and you do whatever they need. So sometimes you're subbing for a class, and sometimes you're like the bathroom monitor, and sometimes you're you might be taking a class on a field trip at the spur of the moment, or like you just never know. And it is strangely fun. I took it because my kids go to school out of our district for like school of choice, and so they need me to pick them up and drive them every day, which is really limiting as far as getting a different job. So after I went through all of the options, I couldn't come up with anything. I'm like, well, I hope this works out, that I get to do this. And I just did it out of necessity. And then on the very first day, they had me shadow somebody who is now one of my favorite people in the world. And she right away was just saying why she loves the job is that she loves the kids. And just like the privilege of getting to be in their life every day immediately made me just think, oh, this isn't just a job. And it's like the same thing that I love about making books. I get to just be there having that same experience, it feels like, every day with them. And it's been just strangely nice to, like, I don't know, do a job that is personal, because I've been working at home for 10 years on books, isolated, and I get to connect when I go on school visits, but every day I'm just by myself, and it's just been so nice to just be with the students and the staff. And anyway, it's been strangely, like, liberating in a way.
Yeah. What age group are we talking for this?
We're mostly 10th through 12th.
10th through 12th.
Yeah.
The
And I
idea
had,
of bathroom monitor, I was like, one,
yeah.
maybe not the fun part of the job right there. But
yeah, that part's not the fun part.
that's the one I could skip that one.
Yeah.
But that idea of like, I didn't know if that was like little kid thing or if that was older audience. I didn't know what that meant, but yeah, that's that. I wouldn't want to sit there in a space like that with a bunch of kids constantly if they're pooping and farting and stuff. That's not my
Yeah, no, we just have to, like, sometimes be in the hall and, like, sign people in when there's different bathroom issues that we need to just, like, make there not be tons of them in there at the same time.
Yeah.
Or,
yeah, it's a dangerous place for a little kid to be in there or a kid, I shouldn't say a little kid.
Yes, they are not little.
Yeah. They're almost full grown at that point. No, one of the things I'm a big proponent of, and it sounds like this is that same sentiment of, there's this, I don't know, I want to call it like false narrative in the arts that a day job is somehow sacrificing or giving up on a dream in a way. But I actually think that it's beneficial for a lot of people to have a day job. Like, I don't do full-time art. I teach. That's my day job. And, it actually, I think, benefits me, because if I were just doing my own artwork, I wouldn't get out and talk to people.
Right. Yeah.
It would be, sad little me sitting in the corner trying to survive, and that access to just get out and chat with people makes a huge difference. And so I look at that idea of, like, getting a day job, whether it be in the arts or not, as being hugely beneficial for a lot of folks. You're sort of speaking that truth there, in the sense of your connection to all these kids, or I'm hoping that you're not, like, despising the kids when you get home.
No. I really love being with them, and it's
Now wait, all of them or just some?
Well, I try. I try to make it all. Yeah, it's a good challenge to
but when I said
always look for the good in somebody. Like, it really puts that into practice, and I actually enjoy, like, that challenge sometimes. Of, like,
when I said that, there was a name or a face that popped into your mind, and you don't have to say who they are, but we know that there's some kid that I'm sure they all love you, and to me, that idea of, like, jumping from day to day, you kind of don't know what you're stepping into, but that it's going to be an experience. You're going to interact with people. Sounds like a really fun sort of aspect to it. It's not like I'm going to go teach science again every single day, or I'm going to go teach whatever it is.
That is, like, I would have never known that would be so great, but it really is one of my favorite things about the job, is the unpredictability. And it's
now, what kind of classes, or, like, what kind of stuff have you taught? Like, I mean, obviously, as a sub, you have to have some experience or some understanding of, like, I mean, I guess you could be the sub that walks in and goes, "We're putting on a movie."
I mean, because of post-COVID, so much of high school stuff is online, so they usually have an assignment already that they can work on, but you do end up helping them with it as needed. So I always feel bad when they want help with math because that is like, I got A's in math because I studied, not because I'm like going to remember it
Yeah.
25 years later or whatever. So it's been funny. Sometimes they'll be asking me for help, and two kids will be debating which of them did the problem right. Like if both of their answers are one of the multiple choice options, and then I do it, and then my answer ends up being wrong. I'm like, see, this is why. Don't ask me about math. But some of it I can help them with. It just depends on if it's something I remember well or not. But
You took
sometimes
you were in school, right? They're in architecture school. You had to take calculus.
I did. It's just been so long. So I'm like, do you have the book? Like, if I can read about it again, I'll remember how to do it when I have to refresh my brain. So you never know. Sometimes you can be in an English class and you're actually going over like I'm trying to think what they were reading, but anyway, sometimes you're like reading a play with them and going over the stuff, and I don't know, sometimes you're in art class. It just depends. But I mean, a lot of times it's not about teaching. It's just being present. You're taking attendance, and then you're explaining the assignment, kind of encouraging them to keep working on it. But mostly I really like just the relational aspect of it. Like, I don't know, just making the connections every day with people, remembering their names.
That's cool.
Anyway, it's been good.
Do they know that you're in Kidlit?
Some people do. What's kind of fun is I'm in my kids' district, and so there are some of the kids, because one of my kids is at the same school. Some of the kids were around since the beginning of Beatrice, because I came into their schools before it was even bought and was talking to them about the process and everything.
Yeah.
So there's certain kids who have known me since they were young. It's really cute when kids I've never met go, oh, you came to my school. I was at, blah, blah, blah school in second grade, and I have Beatrice. And it just blows my mind every time, like, that they would even remember.
Yeah.
And then some of them will tell each other about it because they find it fascinating. And then they're always like, why are you working here, though? And then I feel bad to have to explain the realities of it all. Because they think, of course, you're very rich.
Yeah, you're you wrote one book and you can live off that one book.
Exactly.
No, I like the teaching aspect. For me, that same thing. It's I worry that it puts this or that students think that, like, I do all these books and things, which it's lovely that I do them, but that it's somehow I'm teaching because I love it, and not that it's also a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is it's going to be a paycheck, and I need it to survive, and that's the truth of art in general.
Yep.
There's the stability of is never a constant in any. I can't think of a single illustrator that's like, oh yeah, I'm set for life now.
Right.
Always going to be sort of up in the air. Do you find, like, do you still get opportunities to get out to classrooms and, or to, like, kids' schools and things like that?
Yeah, I do. A lot of times in March, since March is reading month, I try to do about 10 school visits in March, or more, depending. But now that I have this other job, I have to, like, cap it. Where I only do so many. What's been really cool is Beatrice has been used for all school and all district reads quite a lot, and I never would have imagined that. I wasn't thinking of that when I was making it, but because there's illustrations on every page, but the story could also, like, connect with an older kid, like 5th or 6th grade, could still relate to the relational aspects, and the vocabulary is high enough that it works for that. So that's how I go to most schools, is that they're using it for their all school read for March. So that's been really cool and humbling to go into schools where everyone's read it, and then they really want to talk to you about all the specifics of the characters. And
especially like a series like that, I'm sure that they, or the ones that are series, I'm sure there's lots of, like, what's the next book?
Yes.
like there's an investment in it because they know that there's the potential for more
Yes.
on a regular basis. Do you get an opportunity when doing those school visits to like sit down and read it, or is it just like a picture
Yeah.
book? And I mean, you illustrate picture books too, so
Yeah.
it's not the same. But like a picture book, you can read the whole text, and uh, the kids can sit there and listen to the whole thing, and then you're done. You can walk away, and they've heard the story directly from you. But something like a um, chapter book, obviously you can't read to the same capacity.
Right.
And so, like, how do you deal with those interactions?
So I don't usually read any of the book. Um, Usually the kids have already read it when
Yeah.
I go, and sometimes it's just like as a grade level or a school. There's times I go, I mean, they don't have to have. I've been to tons of school visits where they have never heard of you in their life before you show up.
Who are you?
Yeah, exactly. One girl was like, "You're alive?" Because they had just been reading about Dr. Seuss, and she thought all writers were not alive. But I really tell I show them a picture of myself when I was a kid, and the three things I loved most were reading, writing, and drawing. And I like have them all raise their hands if they like reading, if they like writing, if they love drawing, and I show them examples of my stuff from back then. And then I say, but instead of being really happy because I loved those things, I felt really bad because those things weren't loud and interactive and fun, and I thought people didn't really care about those things. And so I just talk about like my insecurities as a kid and what that did, and then they're all like, oh, because they just were all excited about those things, and then they feel bad that you didn't feel good about it. But so many of them still feel that way, like even though I feel like a lot of them are getting a more positive message, there's still just a lot. I mean, everybody struggles with feeling confident about their things. So it really is the story of how I came to write Beatrice and what she's about, and like believing in just your own uniqueness is that, that it's a good thing. And along the way, I'm showing my art and writing process is just part of the story. And then we draw Beatrice together at the end, and I have a question and answer where they ask me like art questions and writing questions. And so it's more like about life and creativity than about, I mean, it so much, my real life ties into the book so much that it works. And it's just so amazing. Like I always pictured, because Beatrice is a girl, that I would have all these girls come up and want to talk to me about Beatrice, and instead it is way more creative boys who are writing their own comics who feel not validated, and they just like, it's amazing to see like how they want you to see their work, and they want you to tell them they're allowed to do it, and that they can do it, that it's a real thing. And they want to like talk to you about Dogman, and they want to hear that Dave Pilkey's a really nice guy. And like, they just like want to be validated in the things they love and not be told that they're dumb. Because even my kid who is going to school for game design, so much of his elementary school years were the adults telling him that the things he loved were stupid.
Yep.
And so anyway, I'm just trying in my visits to like counteract that. Like sometimes those messages are not on purpose, but they just happen. And so I try to like validate all those kids and their video games that they love, and their Dogman that they love, and that's all part of storytelling. And anyway, I just try to do a lot of validating in the experience. And so
I have a question for you then. Is Dave Pilkey actually nice?
he is.
Have you met him?
I have. I got to write him a letter at one point when my agent was asking like who I would want to blurb my book, and I just wrote him a letter about how much he meant to my kids, and in that he was the person that like got my kids through a lot of years of just feeling like, oh, he didn't like school either, and look how successful he is and how amazing he is. And so I just wrote him a letter about that, and I didn't know if he ever got it. And then I got to see him at Nerd Camp. Do you know Nerd Camp?
Yep, I do.
That Nerd Camp's like one of the most amazing experiences. And he just was like, "How are your boys doing?" And he just like referenced my note really, relaxed in a relaxed way. But I was amazed that he remembered, and he was super sweet. And whenever he has an event, he stays until every single kid gets to say hi and gets their thing signed. And he just seems like a very sweet and genuine person.
He gets
So,
it.
yes, he
And
does.
The need. He's one of those ones where, yeah, like if you are a little kid, I can't imagine that you've not read Dogman or like all the variables that are in all those books. Like not everybody has read the Caveman Baby. I'm trying to remember what the
Oh yeah, I know. I can't remember the name.
yeah. Like my kid grew up on those.
Yeah.
That was his start. A lot of sort of reading and comics and all these things, and now obviously like he's leveled up to the next age group, but like still, I showed him just the other day, like there's a new Dogman book out. I'm sure there was some little piqued interest of like, oh, maybe I can pick that up still. Now with I've never been given that option of being able to get a blurb. Was that something that like they just is common practice for chapter book kind of things? Like
I'm not sure. Maybe. I don't know. I feel really lucky. Like the blurbs that I do have, I think my editor like shared the book with them. But I'm not positive.
Yeah.
So I don't know. A lot of lucky and really nice things happened with Beatrice that at the time I wish I knew how rare some of those experiences were, but I didn't because it was my first time. So I'm extra grateful for them all in retrospect. I mean, I'm sure I was grateful at the time, but you don't always know that what you're getting to do is rare when you're in the moment.
Do you now, like thinking back to the experience of writing, both picture books and chapter books, do you find one is easier than other? Because I mean, obviously, like you start out with one, and you're like, "Hey, this is this is my first job, and it seems so fun." But have you gotten other jobs or challenges that you looked at and gone like, "Oh man, this was a more interesting format," or what have you?
I think kind of like just like going to work every day. I like the different, having the variety. I really enjoy not feeling stuck in one thing or another. So I always like exploring new things, and so I'm trying to write like an older middle grade book right now. And then today at school I was in a classroom, and it was a classroom for kids who are interested in going into education, so they had a bunch of books, and Ramona Quimby age 8 was right there, and I just picked it up and started reading it. It made me want to write another book with a kid Beatrice age, and even though I was like in my head thinking I wanted to move on to something older, and picture books I'm always trying to come back to, but I'm not a fast writer. I'm not one of those people who has tons of ideas or full manuscripts that I write. I might struggle for years to write a manuscript for a picture book because my ideas are always kind of, I don't know, like disconnected in my brain. And anyway, it doesn't come easy, though I enjoy it, if that makes sense. And so I really don't know what my next step is for a book. I've had some ideas that didn't really end up going anywhere or got turned down. I haven't figured out how to write a story as a picture book yet. My picture books have always been more like, I don't know if they're more concept or, more poetic or something. So I have one that I'm trying to do that's a little bit more of a story, but who knows? I don't even know if I answered your question or not.
No,
but
great. It's that, I mean, just that idea of like hearing one of the things, like when we have these sessions, sometimes I'll have on people who are like, they know every detail about what they want to do and how they want to do it, and there's not even a question of like they have a vision for their future and whatnot. But then there's always these folks, yourself included, where like, it's not written in stone. It's not like myself included. Like I don't have a book contract right now. I have ideas for stuff I'm writing, and hopefully I will have a contract soon. But I think it's good for people to hear that it's not always this like you you did it and now there's nothing else in your life that you have to do. You're spending more
Yeah.
time, and the fact that people struggle through these kinds of things. Like I'm not a great writer of any sort. I've written some books, I get that, but that was ages ago, and like I have out. I have all the things that sort of potentially are things that first time or new authors or illustrators struggle with. And so to me it's great to well, it's not great for us because we're going where's that contract, where's that next thing, but it's good for people to realize that it's not all puppy dogs and unicorns after you your initial book contract. At least for some of us. There's probably someone out there who's they got the contract, everything's set, but that is not me. It's a daily slog of some sort. Do obviously with writing and working and things, you said that you like to sketch a lot at night. Is that, I mean, obviously you have a day job you have to go do, and you get home and you have to find time. Do you find that sort of challenging? Do you find that, like, I'm a late night person, so staying up work is not really the end of the world to me. But I know some people are like struggle with those odd hours sometimes that illustrators keep. Where do you land in some of that?
So I used to if I have a lot of work to do, I always stay up late. And so all of the Beatrice years, I was always working till 2 or 3 in the morning, and then I had to get up early to take my kids to school, and I just functioned on not a lot of sleep. And I functioned fairly well in that, but then it really did take a toll on my health. And so I've been trying to not do that to myself. Or if I do have to do that, make it be like way more, if a shorter time period that I would have to be in that mode. But I can function in that mode well when I need to, the adrenaline and there's something peaceful about working in the night. And, but like when I would sketch in the evenings, it's usually like I'll be watching TV with my husband and then I'll just draw at the same time just to relax. But I was finding that I don't know how to relax anymore because of running on adrenaline for so many years. And so recently I've made myself not draw, and just try to do only one thing at a time, even if it's just watching TV, to like remember how to just be a little bit. And now I've mastered that. Okay, I think. Which is good because I now have this book project that I'm illustrating, and I'm going to be illustrating it. I did a chunk of the upfront rough artwork during the summer, but now we're going to go into like the next round, and final art's going to be while I'm working. And so I'm going to have to go back into that, working late and being tired thing. But I think it'll be a short enough time period. And it's been so long since I've done it. I've had a break. So I'm not dreading it or anything like it. I'm sure it'll have its ups and downs, but I know that I can do it because I've done it a bunch of times. So my dream is to just figure out how to be able to make work that you love and get sleep and, just have a good balance of everything. But it is tricky to figure out how to do it all. I'm always trying to figure out how to be a little bit faster with the process. So I just got a Wacom Cintiq tablet, like not the Pro one, but like the one down from that, because when I'm putting my stuff together, I've just been doing it in Photoshop without one of those. And so I feel like when I'm working on stuff, sometimes I'm stuck down in my office, isolated from everyone. And I was thinking, well, maybe if I have this and it's more like tactile, that everything I'm doing is with my hand rather than like on the screen, I could, it'll be faster hypothetically, and also I can bring it upstairs and be with my people while also working. So who knows? I'm always trying to find a way to
make it.
find that balance, or just find a spot that seems more healthy. But
There've been a few nights where I've tried to work on the coffee table versus in studio, and it's all awkward. It's trying to find that lovely balance of what do I want to say, like space versus relaxation.
Yeah.
And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But is your husband in the arts?
No, he is in tech, like IT.
Okay. The way the no is very like no. Some heat on that end there. Does he get it? Does he like? I mean, obviously, he must get it somewhat.
Yeah, he's very supportive of it all. And I mean, when it comes to like he doesn't give me his opinion about things. Like I'm always like wanting him, whether I probably drive him crazy because I'm always like, here's this drawing. Like, I don't know, but I want his opinion about different things if I'm trying to make a decision, and he doesn't do that. But my older son is very good at that, so I make him promise to give me his opinion forever. So
whether you want it or not situation.
Yes, exactly. Because sometimes I can just like go on and on in my brain, like, should I do this or should I do this? Is this color better? And I'll just go round and round in my brain trying out options, and then he'll walk by my kid and be like, why are you doing that? Your first one was obviously the best. Just do it. I'm like, oh, okay, good, thank you. And so I need someone around like that.
Does your husband though, like, is he in, like, obviously it's your career, so there should be some level of like excitement for you and things of the sort, but does he enjoy Kidlit? Does he enjoy the like my wife, who also was an illustrator and
that's cool.
Animated of the sort, like when I go to events, she's there and she enjoys it probably more so than I do. I mean, she's a bigger book nerd than I am of any sort. And I'm wondering, some of that is like because she has an art background, but does your husband still like, when you get a picture book, is he like, cool, I want to read that? Or is he like, do tech stuff?
He probably wouldn't want to be. I mean, he looks at my art and he's my biggest salesperson. Like at his work, he has a little setup of my books, and like so many people from his work come to my book launches, and even the adults at his work did a book club for Beatrice and read it, and so it was so nice. So he's very supportive of my work, but he's not a Kidlit person. Like it wouldn't be his thing at all.
Way to a book reading or anything of the sort.
Right.
Gotcha.
Like he would go with me if I wanted someone to come, but it wouldn't be for his his enjoyment.
Gotcha. Is he in the background there?
No.
Okay. I don't know like how much you're allowed to talk about him. Not there kind of situation. And then obviously like you have a kid that's going into the arts, like industry, but the arts nonetheless. And I wonder, one of the questions I always had when I was in school, like at RISD, there were a lot of students whose parents were artists. And, you know, it's in some sense, an artist is more likely to send their kid to art school in capacity just because they know the value in it or whatever it may be. But was there any sort of hesitation on your part or your son's part in the sense of going to art school of like, you know, well, my mom does it and therefore I have something that I have to live up to, or, you know, some preconceived notion of this is what's meant for me kind of situation?
I like, you know, I have my worries just because I know how hard it actually is to make a living. But he's just one of those people, like, this is what he's meant to do. And like he's
artist or
like he's wanted to be a game designer since he was a little kid. And and not in the way that, you know, it's like a popular thing for kids to say they want to do, but he's, even when he was I think a 3 or 4 year old, when there was like the first games, app games, um there was this one called Burn the Rope, I think it was called, and you'd like set fire to one end of this rope picture, and you'd have to like burn up the whole rope, and if you started in certain spots you wouldn't be able to clear the full thing. Anyway, they would like invited people to submit levels of their own, and then they, if they liked it, they would publish it. And so when he was a little kid, he would make these levels for it, and he would say, "Did you send it in?" I'm like, no, I forgot," because he's a little kid. And I would just like, they don't really want your things. But one day he was like, "I'm going to stand here until you send it." He was always very tenacious. And so I sent in his stuff, and then they wrote back the next day like, "Great, we're using it. This one's great." And then they wanted to send him a shirt, and it's all these adult sizes. I'm like, he's 4. You have like a way to make this a little kid one. They're like, "What?" And so his even got added to their level pack that they sold. And but anyway, all that to say, like, as when he was 4, I thought it was just a picture that he drew. But then I couldn't clear the board when I was playing it. I'm like, "Why can't I clear this?" And he's like, "Well, you can only clear it if you start in this very specific spot. I made it so every other thing you'll come out with only 98%. I'm like, "What?" So anyway, when he was a kid, he always was thinking very artistically and strategically about games. He's very like, he liked chess when he was young, and so he likes art, he likes composing music, he likes game strategy and lore and writing. And so I feel like he has all the things, the components that kind of make up that world.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any other thing that he's interested in doing at all. So anyway, it seems worth the risk. So we'll see.
And I'm sorry, what school did he go to? He went to...
I went to Lawrence Tech, which is a school around here that's they have a college of architecture and design, and their design college has auto and product design and game design now. And yeah, so he wanted to stay home. So he did not want to go to the same school I went to, but he ended up doing it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is a known factor that sort of happens.
Yeah.
It's that idea of like the parent versus the kid, and the relationship of like, do you follow in those footsteps? And obviously, you said your parents or your dad was in construction. Was that right?
Yeah, he was an engineer, and then he was in his dad had a construction company, and so yeah, that was kind of like a familiar world to me. Yeah.
So when you went into architecture, they were probably like, "That makes sense."
Right. Yep.
They jumped ship, and you said, "None of this, you fools! Off on my own." Were they supportive when you made that leap?
They were supportive, but very suspicious. One thing that I talk about when I'm talking to older kids at schools, like if I talk to like 6th or 7th graders, is that even when I'm the one who contacted my agent in the first place and researched him, my dad still thought it was a scam. He thought there's no way you could really be doing this. And so even when I was getting my book deal with Disney, he just thought it could not be real. Yeah. So he was cautioning me that it was probably not. And then he apologized later, which was my dad is a really supportive person in general, but he just so much didn't think that it was something a regular person was allowed to do. And so he later said that he was glad that I believed in myself, even though he didn't think it was possible. So I tell kids, sometimes you do have to be the one person who believes in yourself, because other people, like, they're looking out for you. They're just trying to protect you, and they want your life to go well. And
that's big of him to admit that too, though.
Yes, it was a very nice conversation.
I'm imagining we're relatively similar in age, and
probably so. Yes.
And there's a generation where you don't admit failure. You don't admit that you're that you question things like that, you are wrong. Not to say that my parents would do that. They would admit wrong, but they don't admit that often. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very sweet of him to acknowledge that, and like,
and now, you got a new book deal with Is it announced, the book you're
Yes, it is announced now. It's with Astra. And it's called
like?
Field Day, and it's written by Carter Higgins.
That
And it's about two teachers who are very competitive with each other. And it's a funny one.
that's right. I think I actually was it. Did you just post, or did Carter or somebody just post the like Publishers Weekly?
Yeah, it was pretty
Yeah.
recent.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remembered it now that you said it. I'm like, oh yeah. It was the uh, the premise. I remember reading the premise.
Yes.
So and where are you stage wise on that? Have you already sketched? Have you already finished it all? Because when they announce those, it's not like that announcement came out the day that,
Right.
or the, always like a month or two after.
I know. Sometimes they announce them when the book's like about to
Yeah.
be pre-ordered or whatever, but this one still was fairly early on. I started working on it this summer.
Okay.
So I got to do like all of the rough art. I've turned in a full book rough art. It's probably going to go through some changes, and then I will soon-ish probably start working on it again once I get it back from them with art notes and maybe some adjustments. And then we'll do some revisions and then go into final art probably maybe right after the holidays, I'm guessing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That idea of the time frame for these things. I mean, I know I stress the idea that contracts can take forever.
Yeah.
But even that silly little thing of just saying, hey, the book has been bought.
Yes.
Is ridiculous that it can take that long sometimes. With writing the chapter books and writing the Beatrice stuff, that obviously takes a massive amount of time to get that done, potentially to a picture book, I assume. But you're writing these things that you went to school for art, essentially for architecture, etc. And then all of a sudden you're thrown into this world where you're writing these long texts, or what I would consider long. They may not be long in the grand scheme of things, but
right, compared to a full novel, they're not. But for me, they still are.
You have to put in all this time and this effort into this thing that potentially you didn't have a ton of training in.
Yep.
Is it something wherein like you've gotten used to it to a point now where you have a system that makes sense? Is it something that just the length of that book is still sort of a challenge, just because there's more words to screw up?
I feel like, well, the hardest part for me, at least going forward, is my brain does not think systematically. And there's different types of writers, and I'm not the kind of person who wants to plot it all out, because like the whole thing of like the surprise, the unknown, spontaneity, like that's the fun of writing to me.
Okay, gotcha.
But that is way more time consuming if you don't know where it's going necessarily. And I don't like thinking in a plot arc because I don't like predictable things. And not that it means it has to be predictable, but like I can't start there. I always have a like an idea, a premise behind, like the Beatrice ones. That book, I was stuck for a long time at the beginning. Like I knew who she was, but like, what is this one story we're going to tell about her? And the way my agent tricked me out of that spot was he was going on vacation, and he's like, I'm going to be on vacation for 10 days. Give me a full story about her when I get back, because I had been spinning my wheels for a long time. And he's like, it doesn't have to be the story, just a story. Yeah. It has a beginning, middle, and end. And just having that 10-day timeline, it was like a crazy 10 days where that's all I did. And I spent, tons of time on it. But that did end up being the story. But it was like it unlocked my brain. It took the pressure off of it. But then for the future books after that, they came a little bit easier, because it became like, how can we append the premise of in the books? She gives out these upside awards, and like, how can it go awry, basically? And so then we would start with that. And so you always had like a premise to it, but the plot, I did kind of like come up with a way that works for me, though it's not super efficient, is that I just make myself try to write 1,000 words a day for 10 days. And some people can write way more than that really easily, but for me, that's very hard. And to do that, I have to like get beyond my, the part of my brain that's just writing what it thinks it wants to write. Like I end up just having to write subconscious crazy things, and that's always where the good stuff comes. So usually what I think I'm going to write ends up being garbage, and then it's that part that towards the end of the day that I'm pushing myself just to meet the word count that ends up being something interesting and unexpected. And then after I do that for 10 days, I've got a bunch of words, and then I'll go through and find the little interesting things and see where that leads me. And then I go from there, and it kind of gives me a direction. And then like one time my agent said I should maybe try, I don't even think he used the word outline, but I think it was for Beatrice too, like maybe I should write with the end in mind. It was a very loose statement, and I almost truly passed out. I was in a store when I read it, and I had like a true panic attack at the thought of that. And so that is just not how my brain works. And I've had to learn like how to do that in a way that doesn't make me panic. And so I now use sticky notes and have an outline of sorts with sticky notes, like different ideas, and I can move them all around. Like you're not tied to it. It doesn't feel like an outline to me. I can think out of order. And so that works well for me. Again, none of it's very efficient, but at least it keeps it fun. Like that's always the goal to me is, the writing process is always hard, but I still want it to be fun. And
I like the sticky note thing, and I'm gonna steal that, and partially because when I start to write, one of the problems I have is like even if it's copying and pasting, like I can move that sentence over there, I can move that sentence over here. It's hard to look at it as a entire sort of story arc,
yes,
or things of the sort, and having the sticky notes or having something that's not stuck down permanently.
Yes.
And also not in the computer, so you're not just copying and pasting.
Yes.
Because when I copy and paste in those situations, I end up copying like big bodies of text and not just a sentence.
Right.
So it's much an idea of like limiting how much is moving around is a good idea. Now, the idea of sort of writing in that capacity or in that large scale, there must be some time in there where you get wordsmithing and things of the sort.
Yeah.
Is that a love, or is that, like, to me that's arduous? That's the thing I don't want to do, is I want the idea to be the last thing I have to do, and not necessarily the grammar check.
Yeah. It sometimes it can be really hard. Like there's times when I just want to figure out how to very crisply say something and make it clear what just happened, and I can really struggle with how can I make this concise and clear but interesting. And it can just take a whole day to make one paragraph get there. And that feels annoying. But then when you get it, it's just so much satisfaction. Like I always tell kids, because they ask which one I like better, writing or drawing. And I was like, drawing, it's time consuming, but I just always feel happy. Where writing is like a lot of torture. But the payoff when you get it is just like this huge high that's different. Like it's very it's elation that you get when it all finally comes together in a way that makes you happy. So I don't know, that like anything, there's always ups and downs.
So let me ask a question then, which is sort of tangential, if I can say that properly. What you're asking there, that idea of picture books versus the chapter books. To me, picture books is the realm I'm in, but I also find the editing phase the hardest part when trying to write a script, because I'm very wordy.
Yeah.
The idea of a chapter book, you have a little bit more room, but you're also dealing with the idea that the kid's reading it themselves, and there's a competency level when it comes to reading skills and things of the sort. is there one over the other that you go like, oh, that's so much easier, or not necessarily easy, but um, one is harder in some sense than the other?
I think it's hard to come up with a good picture book idea, personally, for me.
Right.
But I feel like there's less struggle. Like the making of my picture books has been a fairly easy process, like low stress. Even though I've made tons that never have turned into anything. So
Yeah.
I have not yet figured out like what is marketable in
Yeah.
a book. Like I have made lots of little book dummies that I love that,
No.
haven't gone forward. So I don't feel like that's a strength of mine, is knowing what is what they want right now or whatever. But the actual process of them, I'm not quick at either thing. But I think definitely writing the chapter book is harder. Way more time consuming and brings me to the end of my rope a lot more. But then it's,
Yeah.
like where I'm like, oh my gosh, can I do this? I don't know. But then there is a lot of joy in it as well. But it's definitely for me a lot tougher, I think, than the picture books.
I remember I was at a SCBWI conference back in the day, and I was relatively new to the industry, and so I did put my foot in my mouth a lot at the beginning. And I remember talking to this agent, and it wasn't my agent, it was another agent. I said something to the effect of, well, I think it's going to be easier to write a picture book because um, it's just less. Time that was like, in my mind, that made total sense.
Yeah.
Less words, less problems, less grammar, less issue. But then, this agent immediately snapped back and said like, oh no, you just wait. And now I understand. Get the
Yeah.
idea, the economy of words,
Yes.
argument than the number of words. And so like I look at that idea of, chapter books, and maybe that's a realm that would make more sense for me. But I'm also, it's daunting in the sense that, you do have a little bit more. If one word is off, it's not
Right.
the end of the world, like a chapter book where, you're really trying to cut down. But at the same time, you have a lot more opportunities for mistake in there, just because of, the story could go so many different directions. And
Yeah.
I don't know where I sit at this point or what's the most comfortable side of things, but
Because
what
both are hard, I think. I mean,
yeah, what about the artwork? Which side artwork is?
um,
I mean, obviously you have to do a different capacity of work. So like when you're doing the chapter books, you're doing sort of not full color,
yeah.
or there's a limitation on what you do, but there's a lot of images.
Right. It's so much. Yeah, like there's usually over 100 images.
But they're also not big spreads every time.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, they might even be even. I mean, because the amount of drawings for the chapter book and needing to fit within the text, and like for me, like the jokes were in the picture but had to be by a specific text, and like making that all work and that many pages is a lot of work. And then we printed it with two color. So it all the color has to be separate. So like all of it was on a separate piece of tracing paper, scanned separately, and I had print files made separately for everyone, and I had to learn how to make that kind of print file.
So you had to have
And
black and white on one layer and then the color on another.
yes. And that's like a specific this is Pantone bright orange and that they sent through. And then we figured out how to make brown by doing the orange and the gray on top of each other. But anyway, it's even though they're simple, it's still
Complex.
a lot of the technical side of it, like creating those print files for them and creating like the layout of the book and with the images. Like it was very time consuming. Where even though the picture books are full color, it's still way less drawings. So I don't know. I think they're about even, honestly, and like the time and complexity, just like in different areas.
So let me ask you. This is a technical question. I don't know if anybody would be really interested in this in the same capacity as me. But with the idea of, you know, a chapter book, you're only doing a certain amount of images in the piece, or not a certain amount. You're doing lots of images, but it's so dependent on the text that's next to it.
Yes.
And picture book, there's this idea of the image is not necessarily tied to the text in a certain. I mean, a lot of early on, people do a lot of like the text in their career. It's like the text and the image have to match, and it's pretty straightforward. And then at a certain point, you realize, oh, you solve a lot in the image that doesn't say. But of a chapter book, there is this idea of placement of that image is important to the story and how it develops.
Yes.
Do you have say? So the question comes down to this: do you have say in where and when you actually make those images, or is that something that, you know, the editor and the art director go, we need a spot here, we need a spot here, we need a, you know, like, do they plan it out, or do they even say, we want to show this little scene in the spot in this location?
So I don't know if it's the same for everybody, but in my case, I was very involved. Like when I submitted Beatrice 1, I had half of the book laid out like it would be.
Yeah.
And because the text, and it was just the interplay of the two things together were so important to me, that I ended up laying the whole book out, and then I kept being heavily involved throughout the series. And I was probably annoyingly picky about how it all went together. I cared more than I knew I was going to, about how it all went together. So I think it depends on the type of book too, because the way Beatrice is written, the jokes being like the words and the images are playing off of each other so much, I feel like you can't just stick them anywhere or just say it's a spread here or whatever, where,
Yeah.
you know, certain types of books that would work for. And if I was going to do another one, I wouldn't make it quite as dependent as it is, as Beatrice is, because it is hard to make it work. Like in our last one, I had to cut some stuff because it was going to make our page count too long. And we didn't want it to be a length that would be intimidating to that age reader. And there's like limits for what is perceived to be long, you know, a good length. Yeah, long, exactly. So that was really hard because some of them they all felt so important, and I cared about them. And like, what joke can you cut? But what emotional moment do you have to cut? And trying to figure that out, or can I make it the image is smaller? But that didn't work, and so a lot of time goes into figuring all that kind of stuff out.
That's just one of those, like, I've never been through that experience of working on something that's that in that capacity. Like, I've worked on projects that are not picture books that have formatting concerns like that, but never a chapter book. And I imagine that's just, you know, it's always that question for me of like, yeah, how much say do you have? How much weight can you throw around in that situation, saying this is what I want to do, versus the editor saying, no, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Situation, but
yeah, I was very perfectionisty about it. They even made me an award.
What do you mean?
It still makes me laugh. They gave me an upside for my enthusiastic dedication to perfection, but I think it maybe means I was being annoying.
Yeah.
That's all right.
They're like, here's this lovely award, and really you're excited about it. You're like, yeah, that's awesome, and they're just kind of giggling in the background, like, yeah, actually, it's a real award. She actually thinks this is for good. Do you have? This is a question I was asking students the other day, and sort of relates to what you're talking about. But the perfectionism aspect. Are you a perfectionist? Are you someone that needs that sort of like things to be perfect, or have you, you know, how much of that sort of shows up in your career? And is it just art related? That's the other one. That was the question that I was talking with some people about.
Yeah, I want to not be one anymore. Like, in fact, I've said before, like, I used to be a perfectionist, and then whoever I say that to always laughs. Like, I'm so ridiculous because, of course, I still am. And I feel like I've gotten so much better, but I think it just shows how much I was like that before. Um, I'm always trying to be less of one, but it's hard to do. It's hard to change. Like I'm trying to be less of one in ways that make your life less good, you know? Like I want to be able to, I don't know, learn to let things go when it doesn't matter. And but then, you know, part of being a perfectionist makes you make good work, because you care.
Yep.
So I don't know. I'm not a perfectionist in every area of my life, but in my work I am. Like not just my art, but just anything related to uh my job, I tend to be like that.
Do you is that something that your loved ones would agree that only in your work?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Maybe I should ask
Is that a question you dare ask them?
them. I don't know if we have talked about it. I know I can be like that in other things, usually visual things. I'm also very like chill about other things. It just depends. There's certain things that trigger my perfectionism and things that don't even register. Uh, but
I'm.
are
It's
you like that?
well. I have perfectionist tendencies in certain situations, but actually not in my artwork. Like
That's very nice. Mm-hmm.
I have OCD on a lot of things,
Mm-hmm.
but it's stuff that really shouldn't matter of any sort. And like I wish I was maybe a little bit more perfectionistic in my art in some capacity, but at the same time I know that you know it really depends on the materials I'm working with. It depends on like when I work on books I get more perfectionistic than when I'm just doing sketches for myself.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of that is just like I got to meet the client's demands kind of situation. I lean too heavily towards what they want.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those ones where like I feel like artists are either um, very knowledgeable about the fact that they are perfectionistic or don't see it. And so,
Mm-hmm.
it really sort of it depends. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I have to cut out. I'm at this point now where I'm like trying to figure out how to manage my crocodile in this way, and I have to do this really painful task, and so it's going to be boring for people to watch for a little.
I love how he's turning out.
Yeah, I have to cut
No,
out.
I think that your work is so interesting because it's so loose in some ways, but then it seems very tedious to have to cut out all the things. Like I don't think I would have the patience.
Yeah,
But so I feel like it's a nice combination though of like it feels really loose, but then
well, see,
Mhm.
that's the challenge. That's where like that perfectionism comes in certain
Yeah.
is like I could probably just paint all of these little teardrops
Uh-huh.
into this piece, and it would be so much faster.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's not going to have the same texture and variation in color and
Yeah.
all the things that I want to get. And so, like, I'm willing to take this leap here, but on the back of the crocodile, I painted those in. And like, why did I choose?
Huh.
I
Yeah.
choose there to not worry about it, and then when it comes to the tears, I'm worrying about it. That's the like, I don't quite understand why I make those decisions, but I do. Uh,
Uh-huh.
and well, let's talk for a second. I mean, we could again, like I said, therapy, but uh, I would love to sort of talk a little bit about struggles
Mhm.
and like that idea of not necessarily perfectionism, but like this career has, whether it be in Kidlit or not, there is that idea of you're always trying to find the right balance
Mhm.
between um, what you want to do, what the client wants, all these different things. And sometimes it comes to a head in a very, succinct manner. Sometimes it's this weird, like you run into writer's block or artist block or whatever you want to call it. And I'm wondering, have you had any like major, like battles like that, you mentioned that idea of the switching, or the idea of taking up a day job already.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Mm-hmm.
part of that, that argument is the sort of argument, or the question that I'm asking about. But beyond that, have you had other things that became challenging for you in the arts?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes like working within the performing on demand on a very tight timeline is hard when I'm a person who is a very slow processor.
Yeah.
And so like sometimes the schedule for Beatrice um put me in a really bad headspace occasionally. Like I
Gotcha.
like if you're like waiting for feedback, and you have time in your life to fit in that feedback, and then suddenly you get the feedback exactly when you have no time in your personal life to do it, and then it's something
Mm-hmm.
that you don't know the answer for, and you have to think of it really quickly because you want your book to be good, but you only have so long. And then like I just froze and like could not come up with a coherent thought, and then I would feel really frustrated with myself for like experiencing that, when probably experiencing that is normal. I should just expect, oh, you're gonna freak out when you get this feedback and you're gonna feel stressed by the timeline, and like now I would just know to expect I'm probably gonna feel like that, instead of, because then on top of it you're also feeling like a failure for experiencing it.
Yep.
And so I had to work through that, and in the end did, but that was grueling.
Yeah, not fun.
you know yeah, and like, so yeah, there was a lot of times in like books 2 and 3 where the timeline was more compressed, um of just having to make my normal slow process go faster and to trust in my ideas faster. um like one time I just sent my editor, because I couldn't finish it, I sent what I did have done, and then spots where I'm like, maybe something like this, maybe something like that. And it was just like really quick. And then I would go on with some parts I did know. And then all the parts where I said, maybe this, she was like, yep, do that. And so then it makes you realize, like, oh, the thought I did have is fine. I should have just trusted myself more. So anyway, it's, I mean, a learning curve, I guess, and just maybe how I would always be. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
no, that idea of the I mean, especially that idea of things sort of compacting, I guess.
mhm.
Like when you think things are okay, things have finally settled down, that's when something hits.
Yeah.
That's like a contract comes in and you're like, yeah, I need to take this, or I need to whatever it is, and it's so unpredictable. And I mean, one of the challenges I have with this industry is just that, like, the waiting, not knowing. And so
Yeah.
like delay and getting notes back is really frustrating to me.
Yeah.
And it's I get why. I know why it takes so long. But it is one of those things where like my scheduling and my sanity
Mm-hmm.
and on some of that information, and when it doesn't come in the time that I want, that it can really throw me off my rocker of some sort. And I've set this rule for myself, the equivalent of, and I don't know if you have the same thing, but I set a rule that like I don't want to work on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
And I think early on it was like, I'll work whenever I need to work because it's important that I get this done, and I'm going to work even if it means I have to sacrifice some of my family life for things of the sort. And now I'm like, I can't do that. That doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. But then there's that moment on every project where you hit and you go, oh no, I have to start working on the weekends.
Yep.
It sucks. It's
Yeah.
awful that you hit that threshold, and then all of a sudden your whole plan, or your whole like sanity plan disappears in a matter of an instant.
Yeah.
Do you when working, do you have this, I was going to say vices, but like, do you have things that make it easier for you to work, or do you have things that make it like I used to, and I don't anymore, and it's good for me that I don't, but I used to have a candy bowl essentially next to me, and
Mm-hmm.
so at a certain point as I was working on a project, I could stop and like, ooh, I get a piece of candy because I did a good job kind of.
Yeah.
but do you have things that make your, those stressful times easier for you?
Yeah, I have different things for different times, but I definitely consumed way too many things that were not healthy, like lots of Mountain Dew.
Ah,
and
yes.
and I like snacking in general, which I've learned is probably ADHD, like how it like keeps you in the moment and focusing. Like even like sipping a drink, how it like brings you back. So now that I know that, I could like substitute it with water instead, because it would
Hmm.
probably do the same thing, because it really wasn't the caffeine. Um, but like when I'm writing, I listen to the same song on repeat over and over, and that helps me write somehow. I have to find like the right song that matches somehow like the rhythm of my body, and a song that I usually didn't know prior to that moment. Um, and then once I'm in the stage of artwork, like if I'm doing rough art, I usually can listen to any music. And I usually work better with music on. But then when I'm in the stage where I'm like scanning things and putting things together in Photoshop, like the boring-ish part, then I look forward to watching like dumb TV, like sort of mindless, because it has to be something. It doesn't matter if I miss some of it, if I get caught up in what I'm doing. So
Yeah.
I watch a lot of silly TV, but sometimes that feels nice to know that's the reward, is like if you get to this stage, you get to just zone out and watch a bunch of whatever, like all
Right.
of Project Runway or
Yeah.
whatever, like something that feels sort of relaxing and fun to get to watch and not feel bad about it, and that no
Now,
one else in my house would want to watch. And
I'm glad that, I mean, you mentioned it, but the vice for me now, or not the vice, but the thing that is my like moment of uh calm is I do have this cup of water, and like taking a sip always is nice and like refreshing, and is that moment to just like step away for a second. A
yes,
hot second. It's not a lot of second, but it's enough that it rejuvenates of sorts.
yeah,
Um, so I'm gonna take a drink right now.
good, good. I think I will too, now that we're saying that. Now I have to.
I've also, I don't know, this is gonna be weird, a weird question, but I've gotten to a point in my life where water, like I appreciate water now. It's
Yes.
really dumb, and I mean it's not dumb, but it's. Uh, I think if I were like in my 20s, I'd be like, you're not gonna be that excited about water, but now like there's moments where I'm like, oh man, a cup of water is the best thing ever,
Yeah.
and it's I don't know if that's sad. Probably my my adult self has come through a little too hard there in the situations. Um, do you when like you said working and having a song on, is there a certain type of music that you're partial to?
Not really. I feel like whatever becomes my repeat song is always something kind of like odd, and not always like something I would listen to otherwise. And I never know what it's going to be. I usually like let Spotify algorithm, they give you that like
DJ
week, not
or
before the DJ existed. They do the weekly
uh,
something or other. I can't think
yeah,
what it's called, but basically it's like a weekly mix made just for you,
yeah.
things you could like, and it's always something I've never heard before. And so usually I would listen to that, and usually something in there that I've never heard before, my brain would be like, that's the one. And then I might listen to that same song only for 2 months. Um, I'll do a song as long as I possibly can. As long as it keeps working, I'll stay to it. And I don't even think there's a through line. I can't figure out a through line to what song works. Sometimes I'll just be shopping and I'm like, oh, stop walking. Like from with my family, I'm like, I have to do Shazam because this song is the song I need. I
Yeah.
can just tell my whole body responds like, this is like I don't know, like it matches the rhythm of my brain during that time period or something.
Well, I'm going to introduce you to a song that you need to add into your mix right
All
now.
right.
There's a song called Slide That Funky Whistle
All right.
that you need to put in rotation. It'll make you, it'll either drive you nuts or I put it on one of my posts at one point during Peachtober. I typed in whistle into Instagram, like audio thing, and it came up. and it's a song that's a slide whistle song. Uh, uh, a funky slide whistle song. Let's put it that way. And so um, it became sort of a go-to song for the family now. Of we need something silly to put on in the background, and so that slide whistle song is it. So you're either gonna love me or hate me after you.
All right, I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, yeah. It could go completely awry. No, I do this. I not necessarily there's songs, but like there are headspaces I need to be in to work, and it's the same thing like artist block. Like you got to be in the right mood to make and to produce something that's lovely in the end. And some days it's there, some days it's not. And I don't work in a space that I have access to a TV, which I'm glad, because otherwise I probably would turn TV too often. But music is a good vice, or podcasts have been my cup of tea for the most part. I'm looking to see if my wife if she heard me talk about Slide That Funky Whistle. You gotta listen to it, and don't judge until you let it sink in a little.
All right. I'll keep you posted. I will not be judgy.
It's an artist that does a lot of slide whistle songs, but I won't get into it too much here. And then with one of the questions I like to ask, especially when it's a location I don't know as much about. So there's other artists I know that are in Michigan, and some of them have said that the arts community, depending on what area they're in, can be really great or really iffy. And I'm sorry, wait, where are you in Michigan again? I know
Metro Detroit, like north, a northern Detroit suburb. Like
you're in Detroit.
I grew up in actual Detroit until 5th grade, and then now I live in a suburb that's maybe like a half hour outside of Detroit.
But is the arts? I mean, I know Detroit does have a relatively decent art scene, or like an up and coming, where there was a lot of artists moving into the area because of cheap housing and things of the sort. But is the area that you're in particular a good art scene, or is it kind of suburb?
It's not so great where I am, but there's probably decent things not that far away, so I have to go seek it out a bit more. And I definitely I'm always jealous of people who live in places where there's tons of Kidlit people, and when they have a book launch there's all of them there, because it would be nice to have that, though we do have some people, and I treasure those, and I feel like our area is growing in that way, in a good way. Like we used to not have very many independent bookstores, and we've had several new ones pop up in recent years, and they seem to be doing well, so that makes me glad, because I feel like having that creates community a little bit more. How
close are you to Lansing?
I think it's an hour and a half.
Oh, okay.
Something like that.
I know Kate Grove is in Lansing, and she's been on the show before, and is a friend and whatnot, and she was saying that there's arts, but it's not real close, and so I'm like, oh, I wonder if you're close, and then you guys can actually meet up and do Kidlit stuff together.
But that's still close enough that it would be worth it.
Yeah. Out there, things are more spread out than they are this way.
So wait, where are you at?
We're in New Hampshire, but we're just basically over the border from Massachusetts.
Okay.
The end of our road is Massachusetts, basically, and so we are in a very Kidlit friendly. Yeah. And so
that's one of the areas that I'm most jealous of.
This is the place you want to be, where it is basically on every block there's probably some Kidlit person. Not as New Hampshire, but in Massachusetts. Yep. You go out to the Northampton area, and you can't walk without running into someone in Kidlit. But that idea of, you don't necessarily need that to have fun, but it's it definitely does make a difference in my mind to have all these Kidlit folks around to rely on as source material.
Yeah.
Do you have a crit group and everything out that way?
I do not.
Oh,
I've never I never share my work with anybody, which is weird. But I always just keep it really close to the vest, and
intentionally or
I don't know. At first, definitely intentionally, and now maybe it's habit. Because there definitely would be value in being able to share, but it's so not what I've done that, yeah, anyway,
yeah.
it's, I would have to really trust the person. I do crits for other people sometimes, like if it's something that, like I have a friend who writes totally different stuff than me, and so she likes feedback, and so I always like love reading her work. But I don't know. I never have. Like I share it with my agent and with editors, but I don't have a crit group. And I think it would be healthy to have one at some point, but
Yeah.
I don't.
That idea of like depending on where you are, access to some of that can be a little bit challenging. And if you're not like the crit group that I'm in is obviously lovely people, but I'm also worried that I'm not worried on the end of them critting my work. I'm more worried because I'm an art teacher who crits on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
And rip them apart without realizing that I'm doing it until it's too late.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what you should change? You should move this around here and then put this over here. And then all of a sudden they're looking at me going like, well, I didn't really ask for that.
Yeah.
But for the most part,
I've been guilty of that before too, and I don't even do that for a living.
It's habit. It's when you spend pretty much every class time telling people how to better their artwork, it's hard not to pay a little bit in that situation. Do you when you're working at home, I mean obviously like crit group is one thing, but do you have artists and stuff that you talk to that are maybe not crit heavy, but just like a community that you meet with ever? Or is it still in that sense?
Yeah, I don't really like.
Am I the first person you've talked to?
No, but I definitely don't have like groups that are for that,
Okay.
Um
Am I scary? Am I threatening at this point? No, it's like there's a few artists that I just talk, like there's friends of mine that are artists that we never talk about artwork. And it depends on the person, whether that's a thing that comes up or not. And so that's where that weird question came from.
Yeah, no, I kind of crave that, but I don't have it.
Yeah. The one of the things that I need to do more, and I don't know if it's the same for you. Like art crit group is one thing, writing crit group is another. I'm good with the art crit. Like I feel completely familiar in that and don't ever question it. But the writing side of things is where I would really struggle as far as like letting people in some way or listening to people who say something about my artwork. I would probably have a harder time with that end of it. But I'm making a risky move here. I'm painting mangroves now. I love every single time that I'm on here, I'm still working on like the initial pass of something, and the guest has done a ton of work. I look at how much you've done since I've been working, and you've done like at least, I'm guessing 10 to 12 drawings this entire time, and I'm still like, I've just barely finished the crocodile. But
you're doing nice finished, like I'm just sketching, so
I don't know about nice finished. I'm doing finished. There's a difference there. We'll find out once it's done if it's actually. How judgmental are you of your own work? Like now that you bring that up, that idea of like, I look at my work and some days I'm really happy with what I've done. And then other days it's, I don't want it to ever see the light of day. Like even the post I made today, I was a little hesitant. It was not my favorite thing that I made. And are you someone who, like really, what do I want to say, like questions every piece to that level? Or once you're done, are you pretty much like, okay, that was that and I can move on?
Usually I can move on. Like for a while I was trying to build my Instagram community a while back, like several years ago, and so I would just make myself post multiple things a day, and that kind of helped me get over that and just know this is just what I'm doing right this second. Um and now when I go back and look at them, I hate them all. But in the moment, I just feel satisfied that like I just spent some time drawing that day, and I don't mind sharing
Yeah.
that. Um, but like if I was something where it was supposed to be a finished piece, I think that part's harder. But sketches, I feel like, well, they're just a moment in time.
Well, okay, I want to dive into that for a second. That sounds like a very therapist thing to say. Let's dive into that for a minute. That idea of like, you don't like to share with a lot of people, yet social media, there's a disconnect. And I'm wondering, like, because I'm someone who, when I put stuff up on social media, I'm very polished. And I know that's maybe to my detriment, because maybe people want to see sketches and maybe people want to see sillier things on a regular basis. But is there, when you sort of post online, obviously, like when you look back at it, I get that you're not always happy with what was posted. Yeah. But is there some sense of like, or how do you separate those two? How is there that ease of social media, or do you like social media to begin with? I guess a bigger question.
Yes and no. I don't like it as much anymore. There was a time when I really I feel like in my real life I have an absence of like artistic connection. So it gives me that. I find lots of inspiration like looking at other people's stuff. It just makes me happy to see other people's artwork. And so I really loved the beginning of when I was on Instagram, and I would just be seeing artists from all over the world and how it breaks down the language barrier and connects people from all over the world. Just putting a heart by somebody saying like, hey, I like what you did today. That part made me feel really happy. Like it felt like such a good connector in a way, but it's way less like that now, which makes me feel sad. Plus now there's all the extra stuff of like, is it stealing my work and blah blah blah. But I felt like Instagram specifically helped me make basic connections with a lot of people in Kidlit. And so then sometimes if I see them somewhere our paths cross, it's like we know each other's work and we've liked it in a way that when we see each other, you feel like you can go, oh, hi. And it's not like meeting a stranger.
Yeah.
There's some connection to base it off of, and that makes me happy. So once they started making it so that your followers aren't seeing your work, it feels like posting into the void, and like you're not getting the connection. Like tons of artists that I followed because I love their work, it never shows me that work anymore, and that part just makes it way less
fun.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's not as much joy in it. Sometimes it's not even ever showing me artwork at all. I'm like, that's really all I want to see when I come to Instagram, is I wanted purposely to see art. Yeah. And
Are you on Blue Sky or any of the other?
Oh, I did join Blue Sky, but I don't even know if I could get back into it. I don't remember what my thing is because that one didn't really pick up for me. But I'm on Threads, which that I don't really use that often. I think there's really no other one that I use consistently.
Yeah.
As much as Instagram. And like I'll try to remember sometimes to like seek out the artists that I used to see in my feed a lot, and like if I purposely go interact with their stuff, it'll show it to me again for a while, and uh, I'll play around trying to get it to be what it used to be for me. But
The one
uh,
that the one I've found that has been helpful for me is not necessarily artists sites or artist pages, but some of the like book reviewers, because then all of a sudden you get to see these books that you may not get your hands on,
mm,
and then that makes me go to the artist websites and see more. But I absolutely agree that it's very challenging at this point, that it's so different than what it started out as. Uh,
yeah,
However, at the same time, art directors still use it, and you know
hmm,
how they find people, I don't understand as much anymore, just because of the algorithm. But
yeah.
um,
I haven't posted really new work in so long, or at least not consistently, and um, maybe I should again. But I mean, I find a lot of people that I like still like. I'm blanking out on what college it is, but there was an art college in the UK that was posting a lot of maybe.
the masters, the
Yeah,
well,
I'm
I'm at
blanking out.
Cambridge, something.
Yes, yes,
I'm drawing a
and
blank right now, but I know the one.
yeah, and so I once I knew the like the hashtag, then I like would keep going and looking at their work on purpose, and then like there was just so much good work. So then I was able to follow a bunch of new people that way, and I don't know, it just makes me happy to know people are just doing the same thing and enjoying it. It makes me feel inspired. Um, like even though it's not like connection, it's like a distant uh encouragement.
Yeah,
Um,
we gotta get you to a situation where you have lots of art folks around, and you have to fight your way away from the arts. Yeah, you gotta be able to like sit there and go, I don't want to talk to an artist today. Uh,
yeah,
that's the
nice.
situation. Um, but that idea of you know social media, the challenges that are embedded, I completely understand, and it's frustrating, and yet unfortunately that's the way that we have to sort of operate at times.
Yep.
I wish it was sort of like, I don't know, when did you start in the industry? What year were you?
Um, my first book came out in 2017, and I got that book deal in 2015.
Okay.
So yeah.
So illustration wise, that was of the range, but like the when I started out um in oh, this time when I started out in illustration, it was postcards and not websites, and
Yeah.
it was a very different environment. And now all of a sudden, that's the way it is. You
Yeah.
gotta deal with it, and there's no easy like cool solution that will make my life what it once was. Let's put it that way. But um, do you enjoy um, the well? Actually, no. I'm going to ask this question. The idea of um, making and style and all these things. There is this challenge of evolution, the challenge of trying to figure out who you are, where your place is within the arts, etc. And I'm wondering, uh, do you have any inkling of the idea of like where you want to go with your art, who you want to be given, a certain amount of time or enough, um, uh, what do I say, uh, adapt, I guess, or is it sort of like you're just going to take it at face value when it sort of falls flat kind of situation?
Yeah, I think it's more of the second. Like sometimes there's things I think, oh, it's going to be this direction I'm going to go in, and then it doesn't happen, and then yeah, I'm not sure, but I kind of like the aspect of surprise about it all. But yeah, I'm kind of curious to even see what ends up working out as far as what I do next. I don't know. I don't like feeling stuck, so I like change. And I try to always keep my mind really open. Um, which I mean that can be good or bad, but that's just how I am. And like I've had to learn to just let things be slower now because I taking a different job makes me not have enough time. I don't have as much time to just make things to figure that out. There's a lot of things I would like to work on that I don't have the time to work on. I could work on them, but I would be giving up things I don't want to give up right now. I had like you were saying about not working on weekends. Like I sacrificed a lot of time with people and a lot of sleep, and I don't want to do that anymore. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how to do this thing that I love in a way that still is healthy. Is more like what I'm constantly trying to figure out. And yeah, it's a journey. Who knows where it'll go, but it feels like a more healthy relationship now to me than it was, and that at least feels good, if nothing else.
Are there things that you do outside of art to maintain, like, I'm imagining it's not they're doing architecture, but are there other hobbies that either you grew up doing or things of the sort that sort of inundate your free time at this point, besides like looking around to various things and life chores?
Yeah, I feel like life is mostly those things, which I mean, it's like that's fine. Um, when I was, I know my hobbies were always reading and writing and drawing. Those were always my main things, and like I love just hanging out with people doing simple things. And I just feel like the last 10 years it's been hard to come by just time to do random things, because it's just like the time of my kid's life is busy, and book stuff has been busy. So I always wanted to learn how to play the guitar. And a few years ago, my husband got me a guitar, and I have not learned very much on it, but I can play. I don't know. I can barely play, but occasionally I still get that out, and it feels really relaxing to do something that I always wanted to learn how to do.
Wait, what can you play? You were about to say what you can play.
Oh, well, it feels funny that it doesn't even. One thing that I do not have the ability to do that is very disappointing to me is sing while playing. And so it feels funny that whatever song I'm playing doesn't even seem like the song that it is. So it's just funny. The one main song I know how to play is August by Taylor Swift. And it's because this one girl who was doing videos on how to learn songs, it was the only song I could find that had like the easiest chords that I could do. And so, but what's funny to me is like when I'm playing it, it doesn't, in my head, it isn't even that song. It's just the song I know how to play, but I can't even hear that actual song in it when I'm playing it. It's just its own thing. So anyway, that's why I hesitated because, yeah, it doesn't seem like it's actually that. But it's still really relaxing to make my fingers do that and everything else goes away because I'm not very natural at it at all. It's very hard, so it takes all my concentration, which is relaxing though.
I am not musically talented, but my son is very my son and my wife are more musically talented, I think, than I am, but my son way more than me. He can sort of play by ear situation, and
That's awesome.
I have guitars down here in my studio that I had when I was just out of school, or when I was in college and then out of school, but I don't know, like, I can play basic chords. It's not good music of any sort that I can play, and I play the same thing. I mean, I haven't even picked them up in years. They're probably so out of tune at this point, it's embarrassing. It's one of those things where I just never had that skill, and I wish I did.
Yeah.
I can belt it out in the car when singing wise, but not when other people are in the car. That's a me time situation right there.
Yes, that is how I am too.
Needs to hear that of any sort. Do you have a good music scene out there? And I mean, Detroit has a good scene, right?
I mean, it probably does, but I'm not sure. Because I haven't really engaged with it too much. I mean, I'm making my life sound really lame, but
You're an adult. I mean, the the amount that I actually go out is very, very slim.
Yep.
I do get out, but it's rarely, and most of the time it's that, like, I don't know if this makes any sense, but it's the first thought in my head is, okay, when can I go home? Situation.
Yep.
And so I'm not I'm asking these questions, but I'm not necessarily the grandiose music aficionado like it may seem. Um, my life is really made up of running errands and silly things like that.
Yep. That is my life, is working, doing errands, getting everybody where they need to go, and then it's time to do it all over again the next day. But
How many
but
kids? Do you
I have two.
Two.
So
Both boys.
one's a junior in high school, and the other one's a sophomore in college.
Okay.
Oh, I mean, I shouldn't say getting them where they need to go, like for my older son. That's not true anymore. But
I mean,
still,
in a way.
yeah, especially because like I drive to school and back, and my younger son is in marching band, which is extremely time consuming, but cool. Like I love marching band, but it's its own uh, thing. It's a huge commitment. So for the whole family, it's a
Yeah,
lot of time.
I get it. We our son is in band and does strings and other things. Let's put it that way. And so, like, yeah, there's lots of not necessarily shuttling around, but just lots of every day there's something.
Yep.
Right now, it's like this is a warning to all parents. What it comes down to is like, yeah, you're gonna shift from having there and watch them so they don't hurt themselves or that they are bottle feeding or whatever it may be, and all of a sudden it's going to turn into now I'm just a chauffeur or I'm having to plan my whole life around these various events that are unrelated to my hobbies. Let's put that.
Yes.
Now I love my son. Don't get me wrong. I love my
Oh
son,
yeah.
but it's
It's my favorite thing is hanging out with them. But yeah, it's like we're not thinking like, oh, what music could we do this weekend? Like, we're not looking for somewhere to go. We're like just trying to fit it all in and still get the house clean and get stuff ready for the next week to start.
yeah. My favorite thing generally is like sleeping in at this point. It has
Yep.
nothing getting out and into the environment. Now, as far as artwork wise, do you do any, like, I know you're for the Kidlit stuff, but then
Yeah.
there's a lot of times where artists do work that is adjacent. So like I do stuff for galleries, and my work for the galleries is very different than my Kidlit world. And
Cool.
stuff that you do that is like artwork that is not in your standard sort of Kidlit oeuvre.
Yeah. So I mean, I used to have my architectural illustration, which I haven't done in a long time, but
Yep.
lately I've been messing around with surface pattern design.
Mm.
As just like another thing to explore. I like learning new things that are still, like you're saying, adjacent. So I don't know what will come of it or not come of it, but so now when I'm drawing to doodle instead of trying to draw more, picture book type of things, like I was using the iPad and sketching other things that could turn into like fabric patterns and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I've been exploring that recently. And then when I'm at school, sometimes if I'm in a classroom and I don't have anything to do for 20 minutes, I can mess around with patterns of drawings that I've done or more drawings to do. And it just gives me another thing to do that's creative that may or may not turn into anything, but it's relaxing and kind of fun to learn another thing. So
Do
that's
you
really the only other one that I've been messing around with lately.
have printing any of this stuff, or is it?
I haven't yet. I'm working on like having a portfolio of maybe like 4 collections that I would like send out um queries to places
Yeah.
sometime, and we'll see. It might turn into nothing, but I like the beginning of things when it could turn into something you don't know, and I like having something like that all the time. Um
Do you know about Surtex?
no.
Oh, let's get into education real quick. Uh, Surtex is the Surface and Textile Show that's in New York
Uh-huh.
every year, and it's for surface designers.
Mm-hmm.
It costs a ton of money to get a booth,
Yep.
but the idea is that it's, I think, only attended by, like the public can't go. It's only buyers that show up.
Uh-huh.
But you get a booth, and then basically you post up, and they come around and they buy the rights. It's basically a rights sale. So you're selling the licensure for different patterns or things that you have individually. So you could sell it like a pattern that you have could go to, let's say, bedding for one company and then stationery for another, or you could sell the rights to entirety to someone. And across the street at the same time generally is a greeting card show. And so like it's this great resource for folks who are interested in that sort of like surface and pattern and things of the sort. I have an art agent too, and at one point they went and showed there, and it made it easier because I didn't have to pay for the booth. It was one nice big.
That is nice, yeah.
It was it can be a very valuable thing if you have collections, but the problem is you have to have like this booth and set up all the things, so you have to go through the trouble of like making some t-shirts and some bedding and things with your stuff so they can see how it works.
Yeah. That could be fun at some point for sure.
Question of cost.
Yes.
It all comes down to cost. The putting money in to make money kind of situation.
Yep.
That idea of surface design, like I had one thing that ended up, you know what? What was it called? Not Noggin. It was Crate and Barrel's little kid.
Oh, Land of Nod, was it?
Land of Nod.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I had like one image that they bought, or maybe no, it was a series of images they bought for prints, and it was going to be like a royalties thing where I was going to see money from it, I think, but I don't think I ever saw anything come from.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe someone bought them and I just didn't make enough for me to actually, like, maybe it's like
right, yeah,
of some sort, but it was kind of cool that something got picked up. I don't even remember. I think it was some car drawings that I did or something of the sort, but totally different style ages ago. And I don't even think Land of Nod is still around.
No, I don't think it is. Yep.
Yeah, but anyways, I want to ask a little bit too about one of the things I tend to gravitate towards with asking in these situations is what I like to refer to as culture corner, i.e. you're in a situation out there that is very different than the East Coast. Like I imagine there's food joints and wait, I got a question for you. Oh man, this is a hot button question for me.
Uh-oh.
What is Detroit style pizza?
Oh. you don't know what it is for real?
Is it just Chicago style? It's like sauce on top, right?
Oh, I don't think they mean that. I mean, it can be like Buddy's Pizza here, which is kind of like the one, Buddy's and Cloverleaf are the ones that kind of started with the thicker pizza, and they did put their sauce on top. But I think when people are calling it Detroit style, it's just like that thicker pan, but not thick like Chicago. But it's funny because I never heard them calling it Detroit style until like the last 5 years ish, and it's like, do you have Jet's Pizza there?
No.
Okay, so that's another thing that I think maybe started here, but to me it's just like regular pizza, but now they call that Detroit style. It's just like a thicker.
It's just thick crust.
Yeah, thick crust, and it's just normal to me as like I also get other kinds of pizza too, but that's all it is.
Okay, because I hear it like it showed up in the stores around here at one point where it's like, here's the frozen pizza you can get. It's Detroit style, and I did not understand what that meant because it just looked like Chicago style, or it just looked like thick crust pizza. I mean, now that, it's like, okay, well, that's basically what it is, just thick crust.
I mean, it seems funny to us too. Like we were like, what is this Detroit style? Like it doesn't. We didn't know they just made it into a thing recently.
Okay.
Like maybe the pizza people in Detroit got together and decided to market themselves because it seems funny to me.
If we sell it this way, then we can get more sales. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be. It's one of those ones where it just all of a sudden it sprung up everywhere, and I was like, I can get this. I mean, we're in the land of like New York pizza, like flat slices and whatnot. Same. It's not the same pizza place that you have out there, but it's the equivalent of, like, I don't know, when I grew up in Minnesota, the donut shops that were there was no such thing as Dunkin' Donuts around. I mean, obviously it was around on the East Coast, but now I know it's sprung up everywhere. But when I got here, it was sort of like, oh, you only have this one place and it's a chain. And I imagine that's sort of in that same vein, that the pizza place has this setup. Yes,
I know. And like sometimes we're annoyed that if we just want to go out for pizza, there's almost nowhere to go out for pizza. If you want to sit down at like a pizzeria, besides we have Buddies, but that's the sauce on the top, which a lot of people don't like, including like my kids. So if we just want like any pizza, it's hard to find. A lot of them don't survive, and I think it's because we have so much famous takeout that everyone does that instead. But if you just want to, it's annoying to us when we would just want to like go out for pizza, and we can't.
Yeah, to come this way where every corner, like I think within the range of our house, there's, I have to think, 1, 2, like within like 3 blocks of our house, I'm gonna say there's probably about 5 or 6 like pizza places.
Wow.
Some of them are sit down, some of them are not, but it's an excessive amount of pizza. Now, are they all good? No. Not many. There's a couple that are decent, but still just pizza and roast beef. That's
roast beef. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why they go together, but they go together. I'm trying to figure out, maybe you can help me a little bit on this piece. So,
yes.
I'm going to do these mangroves back here. I don't know if you can see this.
Yep, I can see great.
I'm going to do these mangroves back here, and I want to do the, like, I don't know what you call that, like mossy stuff coming down. Pencil or paint? That's what I'm trying to decide. Like,
that is a hard.
Because it could be like loosey-goosey, just sort of stuff coming down. But I'm a little worried that, like, I have so much pencil on this side and not.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, I feel like it'd dry your eye up there too much, unless once you put the text over in the alligator's mouth, it might, or crocodile, it might balance it out.
Oh.
It's hard to say.
Yeah, that's what I do. I should put the paint. I should do the same thing that I did for the mangroves here.
Yeah, and then see. And
then decide.
Yes.
That makes. Thank you. I need help every once in a while. Yes. Not all the time, but that's one of those moments where I need to understand sort of what's actually working and what's not working. But thank you.
So when you make your art,
yeah, go ahead.
Like, how many versions of it in this kind of state do you do? Like, is usually once you're at this stage, this is going to be your final piece if you were doing it for a book, or do you have several versions?
Generally, it's a one and done.
Yeah, that seems like so much pressure.
The only time that I very rarely use digital. If you use digital, it's generally a what do I want to say, like a color thing. It's sort of I'm going to tweak the color, or I'm going to move something around a little bit. It's not often is it a like big change of anything. However, that being said, there are times where, like in this case, the editor or the art director came back to me and said, "Hey, we need to change the color stuff, etc." And I could probably paint it and do it by hand, but it's just so much faster to do the digital and walk away.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there every once in a while I will do a piece and it just goes awry. Like I don't think I have them here anymore. I did a piece for Highlights magazine, and I think I did 3 different final versions of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because like it was mainly just a color question. It was sort of like these colors are not working for me, and I could go digitally do them again, but it also I was at a stage where it made sense to just keep going forward,
Mm-hmm.
sort of, or not going forward, but rather keep making a new piece rather than trying to sit there.
Yeah, so just kind of explore it and see.
Yeah, it would just take so long to do the digital version that it's almost easier to just jump on and say, hey, I'm just gonna try again. But it is a little risky.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get the idea that not everybody wants to like put all their eggs in the basket of like, I hope this works out and whatnot. But to me, I kind of like that risk. I mean, we were talking
Mm-hmm.
about that idea of the variety of things that you have at your job and not knowing what's going to be there today. Same thing. Like, I don't know at the beginning when I'm working on this actually how it's going to end up coming out. And so some of that is me sort of figuring it out on the fly.
Yeah. It does seem really fun.
I'm not digitally savvy on a lot of things too. I'm not a big digital person. So like watching people do all this like crazy digital artwork on their iPads or whatnot, I'm not always as skilled in that. In some, that's why I shy away from doing a lot of digital work. It would take me so long by comparison.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm always torn back and forth between the two, or what mixture of them I should do that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I work faster at digital. I would probably use it a lot more often, but I think I just sit there and question it too often. And I kind of admittedly hate the undo button.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's too easy to push.
Yeah. There's not that risk factor.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I do like the risk, but also I just like I dislike the idea of being able to sit there and change the thing so many times, because when I have that in my hand, I want to do it too often.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes a totally different piece. And so,
yeah,
I'm more akin to this idea of like, let's just goof. And if I mess up, I either over, I can cover it up too. That's the advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I think I have enough scrap on the side here that if I needed to cover up something in the background, that's not the piece, but I have some little scraps of the color of the background, so I can go cover that up, or little pieces of, if I don't like how like right now I'm painting this letter form, and I'm like, I don't know if I like it, but I could easily just go grab a scrap and put on top of it, call it a day.
That is cool.
That's one of the reasons why I switched to the collage, honestly, was that idea of like some of the ease in that manner, because I used to like hand paint every single bit of it. And if you make a mistake, it's not something you can easily cover up, or like you'd have to try to match certain paint. In this case, it's just let me put it on top and call it a day.
Yeah. Smart.
How, when you, because you were saying that you use, or that you do layered.
Mm-hmm.
So do you not know, when you're working, do you not know what it's really going to look like until you sort of put it in the computer?
Yeah. I don't know. And like I'll have a sort of an idea in my head, but usually it turns out different than I think. Like sometimes what I'm imagining, I end up not liking it. And I need like lots of time to play around, and I just have all these pieces of things that I've like if I'm doing an outdoor thing, I might have like all these layers of grass type of things, like several layers of pastel and marker and scribbles, and then I'll just move them around or play with the colors of them until it's a direction that feels good.
Yeah.
So I'm still, even though it's like kind of technical and annoying, it's still I'm still experimenting even in that aspect of it, and I like the experimental factor, but it is kind of time consuming, and sometimes I wish I knew more where it was heading.
Yeah.
But
My first book that I worked on that I wrote, I did a thing where it was like I'm making a bunch of different pieces, but then I had to cut everything out. And that like burnt me out on it so quick, and I was like, I'm never doing that again. But are you just layering, or is it like, are you doing lots of like cutting out and rearranging?
more just layering, though sometimes I have to cut out around, in Photoshop, like add masks or whatever for different things, and that can be time consuming.
Yeah.
But mostly it's just layering of pieces and like adding more texture, or I don't know, just usually more texture, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I think that I never have enough variation as I want, like I was saying, until I'm like, oh shoot, I really wanted there to be more, and I think like layering it ends up with all these layers of texture that I couldn't get if I didn't do that. So who knows? This next book that I'm doing, every time I'm like, all right, I'm going to figure out a way to make it more efficient. So this one, I keep debating about what to do. I was thinking maybe I will hand draw it and then do extra layer of tracing paper that's one layer of color, and force it to all be in one piece. Because normally, like, I'll do all the clothing. Like, if I was doing this girl, I would make her sweater on a different piece of tracing paper, and her skirt, and all this. If I was going to do design on the skirt, it's all these little pieces on the same piece of paper, like,
Yes, once.
But I might do like a bunch of different versions of the sweater and what the texture of it is on the same page.
Yeah.
But there are all these pieces to play with later, which it helps keep me loose, because I never know if what I'm doing is the one. Like, so it helps me not be as much of a perfectionist. So I'm kind of like tricking myself. But it's so time consuming, because then you're grabbing all those separate things and assembling it and playing around with it.
Yeah. Oof.
So I was thinking maybe if I force myself to have one piece of color that doesn't have everything, but it has that handmade quality still, and then add extra layers only in Photoshop. But I don't know. I feel like I'm going to end up doing what I normally do in the end.
The standard fare. I always use as a reference point, and I don't know if this story is 100% true, but pretty sure it is, that the artist Joo Hee-yoon, I don't know if you know her work, does Kidlit, does editorial stuff, does a bunch of, but out of school, when she was in school, she was taking, at RISD, there's, instead of like just going to the printmaking department to take printmaking classes, they would have print for illustrators, just because there was illustrators that wanted to do that kind of thing or whatever. And so Juhi was doing all these like screen printing things and whatnot when they were in school, and made these beautiful pieces that were like, color layered on top of color and blah, 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 blah down the line. And then they got out and they wanted to do it at home, and then realized, oh no, like facility wise, etc. Like you can turn a closet into a dark room to be able to burn your screens and things of that sort, but it's not the same as having a distinct space set up for it and whatnot. And so eventually they started doing work that was what I would say, like tracing paper with pencil drawings, and then scanning those in and just doing all the digital layering of the colors. So essentially mocking it up So it looks like Silkscreen, but it's just with pencil, and it's so much faster for them in the long run that that's sort of what they gravitated towards for their aesthetic moving forward. Uh, but that idea of like, it would be like two pieces, but they by stacking them the right way, they got like, all sorts of variation in color and tone and texture.
Yeah.
But it was the pencil that was doing the sort of heavy lift in a way, because it was the pencil that was creating the interesting texture
The texture, yeah.
of some sort. And so that idea that you're talking about of like, finding the right balance of how many layers to put in and when and where to use it, is such a good, in a way a challenge, but a good challenge.
Yeah.
Try to figure out sort of how to make, and it's that problem solving that really shows the sort of, in my mind, shows the creativity in those situations of, oh, this little, this problem of not being able to do the print forced this new method, and that new method sped stuff up, so they got a different type of career, or they have the ability to move and adapt in a much faster way than if they had actually had the materials they wanted.
Yeah.
You oh wait, hold on a second, I just gotta, okay, there we go. Do you have access to good materials? Like, do you have an art store that's nearby?
I do have a pretty good one. It's a bit of a drive, but it's this cool art store that's been around like forever. I used to go there like when I was in college, and it's still around, and it's been around for a really long time.
This is where you go, it's Michael's, or it's like
Yeah, no.
some really generic art store. What's the name of the
And
place?
what's funny is now I'm totally blanking out on the name.
Oh,
It's not Michael's.
it's,
It's changed names, though it's still the same store. Now I'm gonna have to look it up.
okay.
Well, whatever. Anyway, it's sort of irrelevant, but it was renovated recently, which is sort of a bummer because it used to feel so like awesome art store, like really old floor with paint all over it, and it just felt old in a good way. And now they expanded to the space next door, and it's all redone. But anyway, they have less selection now, even though it's bigger. But still, I have a place where I can go try out art supplies and get stuff. And I still only go like when I'm starting a new project. And I usually just grab a bunch of stuff I want to play around with. Even if I don't end up using it, it's fun to play around every time I'm going to start something. And it's only like 20 minutes away, but it's far enough away that I don't just go there all the time.
Yeah. You don't, wait, 20 minutes. I'm trying to think of like, where's the closest art? I guess Michael's is the closest I can get, but the closest art store is, probably about 30, 40 minutes away from me. So Michael's is it, or it's online.
Yep. And I still do get certain things online. Like I still get all my tracing paper online. That was one thing that changed, that I used to have several stores, like even Michael's, that used to be close by that I would get tracing paper at, and then they all phased it out. And so even my art store only has like one kind of tracing paper, and it's not good to draw on for my purposes. So I end up having to always order it online. And they keep changing tracing paper, probably to be cheaper, but it's losing the qualities that make it good for me.
Well, that brand that you have, Bine Fang, or
Yeah.
however it's said, I was gonna say that roll is not. Yeah, that's not something you're gonna find at your average art store. That generally it's the like you can just find a sheet. Like what I end up buying is like, what is this, Strathmore, just sheet stuff. But finding the rolls, I feel like, is a harder thing to come by. Although maybe with like Cricut cutters and that kind of stuff, maybe it's not as hard as it once was. But
Yeah, I mean, online it's easy, but in person, they used to have it everywhere, and then it got more difficult to find. And it, like the tracing paper previously, if you were using marker on it, and like I'll see if this one will do it. The marker used to like puddle like watercolor. I don't know if I can, like, and I could get lots of like variation, and I don't even know if this one's going to do it, but it was doing it a little bit better than some. But some of the newer ones, same brand I used to always get, now if I do it, it all just like bleeds out. It
Mm.
it is like it doesn't have the coating on it that it used to. Um, so I've had a really hard time finding paper that, like, if it's too waxy or too coated, then I don't like how it feels to draw on it. And anyway, it's every time I start a new book, I go on a new quest, and I can't remember which tracing paper is the one that worked the best of my options that I do have because their names aren't on them. And anyway, it's an endless thing.
Sorry, big old drink there, but why do you like tracing paper to draw on, out of curiosity?
So it's the thing I'm most comfortable with because in architecture, that's what we drew on. And the reason was that when you're doing really sketchy sketches for architecture stuff, you didn't use an eraser, you just put another layer of trace on top and you had your scribbly idea and you would fine tune it more and more and more with a new layer of tracing paper. And so that's just how I think now. And so I love having a rough sketch and another one on top and another one on top.
That makes sense. I didn't know if there was like some textural thing or something.
Yeah, and I do like that it's how the pen and pencil feel on it, but I more like how marker and pastel interact together on it. Like, that part is fun to me. I don't know if I can get I probably haven't got any good examples of it tonight, but like if I like play with them together, they create lots of interesting textures and stuff that I don't get on paper, regular paper. Sometimes it's hard to capture it when I have to scan it. Like I'll see tons of good variation and fun things going on in my real one, but then when I go to scan it, when the light goes through, even if I put stuff behind it, I lose some of it. But I like to play around sometimes with putting marker on one side of the trace and pastel on the other, and like playing around with what that does. And anyway, I don't know. I've tried moving to paper, and it always feels like a struggle. It never feels natural. So I always come back to the trace.
That it's just one of those ones that, like, I don't know, like in illustration classes, starting out, we used to use trace only because we didn't want people to feel like their sketches were too precious.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the advantage of the trace. But of course, students would rebel against it. They didn't like having to use trace constantly. But that idea of the translucency or whatnot, like there's all sorts of ways to take advantage of it in your art making. And I'm sure there's like lots of people who don't even give it a chance. Like in my case, I love it because it's cheap enough, but it also, like when I'm doing translucent elements, that color can show through in ways that you're just not going to get out of other paper or things of the sort. And so it sort of becomes advantageous to me in that situation. But it's just not a material that, like, I think a lot of folks care as much about as, we give it the day that it needs. And other people don't. They think it's a waste and they're wrong.
I always try to show it to kids, like in smaller groups. Sometimes as part of a school visit, I'll have like a lunch with a smaller group of kids. Or sometimes if I'm doing a bookstore event and there's a small group of kids, I'll put out tracing paper and markers and crayons and let them play, kind of show how I do it. And it's fun because, it's a material that's just different enough that it makes it fun to play around. But yeah, so what is the material you paint on the most often? Because it looks thin. Are you using trace?
It is trace. It's just Strathmore trace. I mean, sometimes I'll use other, like, I have like, what do I want to call this? Copy paper. Just plain copy paper that I'll mix in. Or, other sort of materials here or there. But for the most part, it's just plain old trace. And it's, it's probably not the cheapest thing in the world. Basically, I looked and I saw that Eric Carle did all of his stuff with tissue paper. I tried using tissue paper at one point, and it's too thin for my liking, and it also tore too easily. And so like Trace has that same sort of translucent, but it has a little bit more of a hardiness to it.
Yeah.
It's become my sort of go-to. But ultimately, like if I could find tissue paper that had the same sort of level that I needed for this, then I might do that. But it's you know, most of the time you get it, it's for like packaging for um, presents or,
Yeah.
and so like maybe I'm trying the wrong type, but I do have some like there's probably some in my yeah
Yeah, it is so flimsy.
yeah it's just it's so much thinner, and
Mhm.
even like when I tried to glue it down, it was tearing, and that was a problem. So um, I've given thought to like maybe I don't need to use the same trace or the same method as much as I've been doing just for variety's sake. But I've been again that same thing you mentioned. Like I sort of fall back on it uh, because it's what I know,
Yep.
and so at some point I might jump to something else, or I might find some other ways of collaging or mixing. But it's nice and easy right now, and it's something I understand, and so I'm not having to have a big uphill battle on a regular basis.
I know. It's so hard to decide, like, am I just using this because it's a crutch, or is this just a part of my style? I don't
Yeah.
know how you decide those things, but
Are there materials that you have always like wanted to try that you've just never either gotten your hands on, um, or just afraid to touch in some?
one thing I've never used is just regular paint. Like, I've done watercolor, but I haven't done any other kind of paint besides watercolor. So I always wonder
Like what?
what gouache or yeah, like what that would be like. But I don't know what seems intimidating about it, and that I haven't tried it, but I
So
just know I don't know anything about it. So
I get that oil paint can be scary because it's a whole nother like
yeah,
you have to use terp and all sorts of chemicals to make it work in a way, or stuff that just you don't have around your house. But yeah, you should try gouache. Is basically just thick watercolor.
yeah,
Uh, I mean, it's technically not, but that's the gist of it. Is
mm-hmm.
thick watercolor, um, and I like acrylic gouache personally just because it dries and it doesn't come back up,
Mm.
but it still has that sort of flat finish, so you can draw on top of it and things of the sort. But um, that's next time you're at that old art store.
Yep,
I imagine they have those materials.
I'm sure they do.
You got to get your hands on just one little tube. It doesn't have to be much, and see what it does. I keep thinking about like I feel not necessarily that I'm stagnating, but I feel like some of the stuff I've been doing is just starting to look too similar for me at this point, and I'm wondering like how can I mix it up a little bit. And one of the things I've been thinking about is like, yeah, is there a material that I just haven't tried that would be worth sort of jumping into at some point? And I don't know what that is yet. I have to. Part of the problem is all I have is Michael's to sort of go look
Yeah,
at. I need to get
yeah,
in a situation where I can have a better sense of what's available to me than just that. But
yeah, just to get ideas of
yeah,
what's out there.
all right. I think I want to see if I put in some mangrove.
Yeah, that's working great because it's light enough, thin enough lines that
Yeah.
it's not competing with anything.
I'm just thinking, like, do I need to do lines hanging down? Is the question, like, because it's less circles,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe I need to. Yeah, I'll figure it out. Let's erase that out and try it again, though. That was my test run. How much? So, how often do you get to sketch? How often do you get to like just play around?
Um, I mean, there was a time that I used to do it every night. Um, and now, I don't know, maybe a couple times a week I still do. Um, nothing like, majorly taxing or transformative, but just like sketches like this where I'm just, I even way less involved typically. Like, I usually am just like messing around in a sketchbook and it's just messy and something no one would ever see is still like relaxing to me. Like even when sometimes it's even like for a project, but I try to make it like like when I was starting the book I'm working on right now, I needed to have tons of kids because there's lots of classrooms. So I would just like tons of nights just like look at pictures of third graders and just keep drawing faces and just almost like while watching something. So there was no pressure to it. And I just draw and draw and draw like 10 pages of faces. And then every once in a while I get to one that I'm like, oh, I like that kid. I think I'll circle that one and work them in there somewhere. But I still count that as just sketch time because there's like no pressure to it at all. And
Now, is your Google search history weird now, though?
Probably.
The third graders.
I know. I always do think about the weird searches that I do every day. Many weird searches.
There's a time where my wife and I worked at a animation studio together, and when we didn't have a contract in to work on a show or things of the sort, they would have us do some either demo reels or things of the sort, and they had us do what are called station IDs, which is things that they would go out to pitch to a company. So like in the middle of a show, there'd be like a commercial, and then it would say, you're watching Lifetime. And so we got to just make whatever we wanted, and then if they liked them, they would go show them to those companies. And I was doing one that I thought it would be funny if I did one for Golden Girls, like for, I think it was Lifetime, or it was I forget what channel it was on at the time. And I needed pictures of old people. So I typed in Google pictures of old people. The problem, of course, is this was before Google Images. And so the first thing I saw, I was like, oh, I'll click on that. And I will say I could not shut down the pop-up things fast enough. IT, I don't think the IT department ever called me on it, but there's questions in my mind of who saw what I actually had on my screen at some point there.
Yeah. It was so scary to Google for a while.
Yeah.
I had many horrible experiences.
Yeah. So clear your history. We don't know anything about what you said. Clear your history. I'm not 100% feel yet, but I'm gonna try a bunch of colors on top to feel more lived in. I don't know. I don't know about it. And now I put down a lot of it.
I think it's working.
Yeah.
It looks subtle enough. At least I am only seeing it through the screen from far, but
I think it's the texture is. I think I might actually see how much race question, then how much. I think I may actually do it in paint and just let this be undertone, sort of what's there.
It's amazing that it all comes off. That is impressive.
It comes off like 90%.
That's good. It's amazing.
It's the Caran d'Ache. Is that the Super Soft again? Oh no, that's a Pablo one, but it's a little bit softer than some of the other ones, and so it comes up a little bit easier. But it still takes some effort to bring up. But I'm gonna come back in there with paint and just streak the thing out. But that can be the tone. That's the under distant tone that's there. And then I still got to do. Oh man, we're at 9:30 here.
Wow.
It's quite a ways in.
It went by really fast.
Yeah, that's this is the part where fun conversation, a live conversation goes a long way and makes people happy. and allows us to work and all that fun stuff. Um, so what are some of the goals? Like the book that you're working on right now,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
You're gonna do the stuff for. Um, are there goals of like uh, other types of books that you want to get your hands on and like, or not hands on, but projects that you want to work on, or is there like I'm under the assumption that you're writing on a regular basis, but is there like project like, oh man, I want to get another picture book, or are you looking for another series?
I would love to do another picture book, because I think they're just really fun to work on. And I think it would be interesting to do like artwork for someone else's series. That would be an interesting, fun challenge. So I think it seems fun. Plus, you get to like dive into someone else's work like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. One of the novels that I'm working on that's still on really early stages. One thing I might try is every once in a while at the beginning, I don't know if it'll be at the beginning of every chapter or as needed, having some graphic novel pages that are like backstory or
Oh,
I don't
cool.
know. I'm not, and something I think it would be kind of fun, like doing a whole graphic novel would sounds way too time consuming and intimidating, but I'm interested in the format. So like playing around with a limited version of that worked into a book seems fun to me. So we'll see if I can make that happen or not. Um,
Now, when you say novel, do you mean like a chapter book, or
it
what is
is.
novel?
This is the at least how it is now. It is a middle grade novel that is not a chapter book. It's a like last day of junior high book.
Okay.
So a little bit older characters, still similar in vibe, I think, to Beatrice, in like humor but heartfelt stuff, and um, but we'll see. I have a lot of work to go on it before it is a thing. But it seems that's like an idea that would seems fun to play around with, of like kind of
Yeah.
uh, mixing that and like learning that without it being committing to doing a whole graphic novel. Just having limited pages seems fun to me.
How do you like? This is gonna be a weird question, but like, because in Kidlit or in picture books rather, the realm that I'm used to, you're writing for little kids, and there is a level of disconnect um, that happens just because of age in that situation. Like I'm an adult, and here I am trying to write for kids that are anywhere from 0 to like 6 or 8 even. Um, but with something that's middle grade, you're at an age there, or the kids are at an age there, wherein they are less like they're buying the book potentially
Mm-hmm.
for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they are investing in a different way, and so you have to think differently. And like in picture books, I feel like there's this. My agent at one point said basically that you need to have a character that's kid-like, but only a couple years advanced. So if you're writing a 6-year-old, you write about an 8-year-old kind of situation. So they have something to do, but it's not too far off
Yeah.
in that kind of situation. But middle grade, I feel like that's a much more dangerous sort of avenue because it's they're going through so many changes and things of the sort. I'm wondering, how do you connect with the content in a way when it's um, these strange kid situations? That makes
So I feel like I always feel like kid version of me in general. Like I'm very connected to my kid self.
okay.
Um, so connecting, like I feel like a lot of things are universal. A lot of things that you're feeling, even in that age are still the things that I care about now.
Yeah.
Even though there's certain things you experience then that is very tied to them, but I feel very connected to that version of myself. I also live in the house that I lived in then, which I feel like makes it even easier for me to connect to my kid self. Also, working with the high schoolers or being with high schoolers has made me realize how much like the things I still think about and that I would include in a middle grade thing, like I still think about now and they still worry about in high school and they still worry about them in junior high. Like certain things are just so universal.
Yeah.
So the only thing that I'm less confident about is things that are different now than they were when I was that age, because technology and like there's just some things about their lives now that's different in a way that I didn't experience at that age. So that part I ponder a bit. Like I don't know the answer to that.
I gotcha. Yeah, just
Um
the like keeping up with modern day
yeah,
relevancy
yeah.
challenge.
I just feel like so much of life is universal. Um but I mean I could be totally wrong. But I feel like when kids share like the thing they're worrying about, it's usually, something that I still worry about, like
Yeah.
friendships and, things that just never do change. It's everyone, you know, thinks about the same things, the future, who you are, and I don't know. There's so many themes that never change.
Were you an awkward middle schooler? I mean, everybody's an awkward middle schooler, but were you particularly awkward?
Yeah, probably so. Um, yes. I'll just say yes instead of wondering.
Yeah. Or were
So
you a
awkward.
weirdo is the question. Um,
Yes, I was very nerdy and I was very aware of my own nerdiness.
and were you like, are you writing for yourself? I guess is a better way for me to ask this question. Like, are you writing for the version of yourself that went through that era, um, and went through those awkward change moments and all the things that come from middle school, or are you writing for like your kids who you got to see go through it in maybe a different way or a different shape or form? Uh,
So, in this particular one that I'm working on, I am writing for a specific kind of kid that I was and my kids are, and I see a bunch of other kids who have a very similar, like, personality or whatever, a certain type of kid,
yeah,
that I think it still applies to them. Like, I'm really interested in discussing about growing up on your own timeline. Um, like, there's so much of life that's like, when you're this age, you're supposed to be this, and this, and be able to do this, and this, or be interested in this, and this. And like, not everybody's ready for those things at those prescribed times.
mm-hmm.
And so I'm interested in just exploring that idea as like a subtopic of, but it's like the heart behind what I'm writing about, is that it's okay to grow up on your own timeline, even if it's slower than other people's. I feel like that's a universal
Yeah, I think
thing.
especially when you're going through and forgive the terminology, but when you're going through like puberty and things of the sort, there's lots of
Yeah.
pressure.
Yeah.
You got to be cool and mature and keep up with the rest of the class. And then there's the some of us who were maybe not as uh, speedy about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Feel awkward, or you feel like you're lesser than, or what have you. So makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I'm not admitting anything in that process. Yeah. I mean, we're going. He's not what, but my son's 12. He's in middle school. He's going through a lot of like. This is the time frame in which there's a lot of change in their lives, and there's a lot of like unsurety. That's,
Mhm.
but he's unsure about a lot of things, and having those resources, those books, those characters, those things that are important like that can be such a huge help for that age group. So, um, the do you think that just thinking more about that sort of age group, do you find that easier to write for than younger or older? Like, or rather, what is your prime real estate for, like, age wise?
I feel like between 4 and 14, which is pretty big, but still, that's where I feel like I feel like I'm in that headspace of anywhere in that range easily. I don't think any of them feel easier or harder than another. Like I like picture books that are about like I like when other people make picture books, I like them about a lot of things. But like for myself, what comes out of me for picture books is like things that make you celebrate just the joy in life or nature. Um, things that make you slow down and look at something differently.
Yeah.
Um, and so that is just like a part of me every day. That's just how I survive life. And so that's easy to explore in a picture book for me. Um, it'll be interesting to see. Like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of things that I think about in life could easily fall into a picture book. But then it feels easy to slip into writing about a third grader or a middle schooler. I don't feel like I can go above that necessarily. So
Okay.
like sometimes I think, oh, what about if I wrote an adult mystery? Because I try to just keep my mind open all the time to new things. And but anyway, the young adult space feels really scary. Like I can't imagine writing for that. But anything middle grade and under feels natural.
What were some of the books that were your faves growing up? Like, did you have?
I
Maybe maybe you
my
share, but
yeah, my
remind.
reading life was really I'm just gonna say censored for lack of a better word. I'm sure there's a more appropriate word, but like limited. I was limited to a lot of like classics and stuff, which I'm sure helped me as a writer in some ways. But
because
um,
because of family, because of school, because of.
yeah, family, environment, like yeah, just the culture that I was raised in was kind of just like more cautious, I guess, about
Okay.
what I was allowed to read. Overly so. Um, like I wasn't allowed to read Ramona because it said right on there that she was a pest, and you wouldn't want your kid to be a pest. I remember picking that book out because I thought, well, they're not going to say no to this book, and then I couldn't read that one. So I like it when people compare Beatrice to Ramona because I never read Ramona. Even as an adult, I didn't read Ramona until after I wrote Beatrice was done. My editor's like, make it a gift for yourself at the end to read Ramona.
You weren't
Um,
yourself or like until after.
yeah, because I didn't want to draw from it, and then it's like fun that it gets compared to it without me having that like background knowledge.
Yep.
But for me, the books that helped me the most and are like, oh, guiding thing in life was Anne of Green Gables.
Mm.
Because like my grandma passed it on to my mom, who passed it on to me, and she was like I think a neurodivergent person, and even though I didn't have those labels for myself, like in her I saw this creative, fanciful person whose like interior life was bigger than her like actual life, and that even though these bad things happened to her, she had trauma, she still saw the world as beautiful, and like she created beauty. And so I found her to be like this guiding force in my life, like I want to be like Anne. And so I reread it all the time, and I think I just saw myself in her and felt like, oh, here's a person who's like me, even though I don't see people in my regular life that seem like me. She seems like me. And I thought the books were, I still think they're really funny and that they stand the test of time. It's like there was so much humor. Um, and it was like right around when I thought of writing Beatrice that I read the picture book Extra Yarn.
Oh yeah.
And the girl in there is like, her box of yarn is never ending, and she doesn't like get jaded no matter what comes her way. She doesn't sell out, and she just keeps making the world more beautiful. And when I read that, it reminded me of Anne and how important that was to my childhood. And so then as I was making Beatrice, that's what I was thinking of, is like a girl like Annabelle in Extra Yarn, or a girl like Anne, like what that meant to me, of a girl who just keeps on going, making the world better in her own quirky way. So anyway, that's kind of the most influential book in my life, though I didn't have a lot to draw from. Like, who knows if I think I would have liked it even if I did have other options, but I always feel immediately connected to somebody if they also were an Anne fan.
Remind me, the story of Anne of Green Gables, like, it's funny because I did an editorial piece for a airline that was based out of Canada and was from that.
Mm-hmm.
The name of the island is that.
Oh, yeah. Prince Edward Island.
Prince Edward Island, thank you.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time, because I've never read the book, but I had to like, okay, I got to figure out what this book's about, but I don't remember it now. Was it that she was like adopted or something?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
up with another family or something, right?
yeah, she grew up, like, she was orphaned at a young age, and then she was with a bunch of different families prior to the beginning of the book. And like a lot of times orphans back then would get used as like, they'd be adopted, but they'd get used as help.
Yep.
And so then this family needed, they wanted to adopt a boy to help them with their farm chores, which is also pretty horrifying that they wanted
Yep.
to adopt a kid for that reason. And then they send them a girl on accident, and they don't want her, but then they feel bad, and then she kind of wins them over, but she's completely opposite. It's a brother and sister who adopt her, and they're like old and cantankerous, and the guy's really sweet, and the sister is way more like practical and the complete opposite. So it's kind of like about the family they create and the joy she brings to their lives while also being so different than them. But the books, there's like 8 books in the series, and it goes all the way through her life. So I would read the whole series over and over again.
Yeah, it's one of those ones that, like, I know the title, I've heard of it, but I just don't know much about it in general.
Yeah.
It's all sort of a gamble. I just know she has red hair.
Yes.
There's moments where she, what was it, like, she like fights back or is like challenging to
Yes.
something of the sort, and so like that's all I had to go on for making the final piece, but it was into that. So that sounds about what I know. I just couldn't remember it all.
Yes.
Can
I like the colors you're adding. That's really fun.
The bright yellow?
The bright yellow, yeah.
Yeah, it's making a big difference for me.
Yeah.
I forgot I had this whole sheet. This is the problem of like, I make all these swatches and I forgot that I had this bright yellow sitting off to the side, and I meant to use it in this as an element and then totally spaced on it. And so now I'm like, okay, how can I find to fit it back in here in some capacity? And so like the tears, I'm going to probably put some trees back in here that have some of that yellow, like sort of last minute adjustment to make it shine a little bit more than what it is already. But wait, okay, so that one, I can do this one. This is all that like forgetting, but also having to figure it out on the fly, sort of.
Yes, and talk at the same time. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm used to chatting and working. That was when I was in college. That was the way that we operated. Was friends and I would sit there and like work in our dorm or in our apartment or whatever it was, and just periodically stop and talk or talk while you work. And so this is a no-brainer. I can do this. This is easy. But I get that it's challenging for others. It's not everybody's cup of tea to sit and chat while they work. Can you give me a little sense of what your library, your collection, your personal library, not the library in town, but
yes,
your personal
well,
library.
I do love my library in town. My personal library has a zillion picture books. Like, let's see. like, I shouldn't say a zillion, but for me, it's a lot. I have my personal library is just picture books and middle grade, which is
Okay.
pretty much all I've got. I do read some YA. I don't read really any adult books, but I for the books I buy myself, my collection's either books that artistically inspire me, that I go back to over and over again, or books that I'm buying like, um, just because the person who made it is special to me as well. Um, so it's a combination of both things. But I feel like my books are the only thing that I collect is books, and they make me happy either because of the memory of the story or just the time of my life that it was, or who made it, or whatever. But um,
Now,
yeah.
your husband know how many books you buy?
I mean, probably, and I do try to keep it to a minimum because I don't have lots of cash flow. But if it's like if I want to get myself a gift, that's usually what I'm going to get for myself. Um, and I do put a lot of thought usually in like what I actually want to own, as opposed to just like I do use my local library a lot.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, I try to like if I keep checking something out again and again and again, I'm like, okay, I should buy this one. Um, but
That's,
I always feel like I justify it as like a business expense because it is, because that's how you learn the most.
I
I
mean,
feel like,
you're writing them off on your taxes, right?
yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So that
I was like,
makes me feel like I'm allowed to. It's like, and what else? I don't spend any other money on my work except for art supplies. So, like, to me,
yeah,
it's a very justifiable expense because you're constantly learning and keeping fresh with the industry and being inspired. And,
yeah.
uh, yeah, but I haven't bought as many in recent years as like when I look at my collection, there's the most from the beginning of my career when I was like really,
Trying
uh,
to figure things out. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So I feel most attached to those books too because they're also influential to me. Um, but now I feel the most out of touch the last couple of years because I've been so busy that it's like the first time in my life I don't always know. Like usually I have all these opinions about the Caldecott, and I like, you know, I don't know, I would know them all no matter who they end up being. And then instead, usually last couple of years, I don't know any of them until,
Until then.
um, because I haven't had as much time. Uh, life's just been busier and crazier, and I also don't feel like obligated to know right now. Um, even though I'd like to be connected to it, but I used to just spend so much time at the library and at the bookstore. And now that's just like a rare treat. Um, our library is very, I don't know if it's well funded or they just have a really good buyer, but they have a very good selection and lots of imports. And so I love our library, and they always had a section of like the new books that just came in. And
When you say
uh,
imports, do you mean like from overseas, or do you?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and
'Cause,
I just wouldn't expect. I mean, I'm always surprised that we have as much of that as we.
yeah, that's not a common place for a lot of libraries to like go out of their way and get stuff from over yonder,
Yeah.
oceans, whatever it may be. Um, the I forget who I was talking to. It was a student I was talking to, and we were talking just about movies, and they said, "Oh, I really want to see this movie, but it's I didn't get to see it in the theaters, and it's going to be forever before because I don't have that streaming service or whatever it may be." And I
Hmm.
stopped them and said, "Have you checked the library?" And they're like,
Hmm.
"You know, the library where you can check things out. They often have movies, and they might have that movie, and of course they did." Uh,
Yep.
but
Awesome.
like uh, disconnected from that idea of the library, like it's just certain generations.
Yeah.
I think partially being in Kidlit, like we're more attached to those sort of environments, but that idea of the library being a source. So when I teach my Kidlit course, my children's book course, first thing I do on the first day is take everybody over to the library
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm going to have this time. I'm going to try to get the librarian to be there at the time to talk to them, and not
Mm-hmm.
about like, hey, here's the library, here's the resources, but also talk to them about like, how do they find books?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah, that
know,
would be really intriguing to hear about,
it,
actually.
like it's not arbitrary. It's not like they're just going, let me flip through a catalog and put my finger on a page, and that's what I'm ordering.
Right.
To talk to them about that, and we go to a bookstore that's in town, and I asked them to like ask the booksellers like why do they choose to order certain books? How do they decide what's outward facing
Mhm.
uh, in the store, etc. And like um, all those things. Knowing about the access that you can get through these locations is so important. So
Yeah. Because
we
I mean,
are
I never could have funded my like picture book education.
yeah
My
out.
favorite thing libraries started doing is when they tell you like how much money you saved by using the library. And that year, back in 2015, it was $43,000.
Ah,
It makes me so happy every time. I never have come close to it since then. But I mean, how cool to have that as a resource and
I
read
didn't
$43,000 worth of picture books.
I didn't even know that was the thing that they can do. I want to find out because we we go to when we go to a bookstore, we end up buying like 5 books every single time,
Yeah.
um, just out of the love of books.
Yeah.
Library, the amount that my wife checks out from the library on a regular basis is, we generally have about like 30 picture books upstairs on the coffee table from the library
Yeah.
at all
Awesome.
times. And yeah, we probably, I don't even want to know at this point. I'm always, at the end of the year when we do taxes and we total up like how much we actually spent on things, the amount that we spend at bookstores is generally pretty shocking.
Uh-huh.
But also, it's a business expense. It's not only for my research, but it's for the show and
Yep.
whatnot. So, I think we're about to butt up on the end of time.
Well, I am so surprised. I thought there was no way I was going to make it.
You're an official Gavin dude is what we call it. Is someone who goes the whole distance. That you didn't chicken out like the rest of them all the way to the end. Let me clean up my space a little bit here, and I'll make it so it looks a little prettier than what it looks right now, and then we can do a nice little send off for everybody watching. Is there any announcements or anything of projects that are coming up that you can? I mean, you mentioned the one with Carter Higgins, but are there any books that are coming out at any point that we should relay to folks?
Well, just my most recent one is What Are You Waiting For? That just came out just a couple months ago.
This
That
one.
was one by Marcy Campbell.
Yep.
And so those are my only two right now, is the new one with Carter and that one. And that one was a lot of fun to work on, and I'd love for people to check it out.
Do you know Renee Carilla?
I don't know her personally. I know her work. Like we're friends on Instagram, but we've maybe like exchanged a couple words only. But
The little red glasses make me think of like her daughter. Like, I don't know if you've seen drawings that she's done of her daughter.
I don't know if I have.
A grown-up version, because her daughter, like I when she was like not a new, or I think had glasses and showed up in a lot of images.
Oh.
And so like it always makes me, whenever I see a book of yours, I always think of like, oh, that looks like Renee's little girl.
Oh.
So
I always have to resist putting glasses on every character.
Oh, little hats. Oh, that was the thing that was on this character at one point, was a little hat. But
Oh, that would be cute.
I won't put the hat on it now. But okay, let me get this all cleaned up. There we go, so we can see what we actually made. So we got about 2 minutes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually, yeah, keep it there like that. Lauren, take a picture. She's doing a screenshot so she can have for her thumbnail that she makes for the show.
Awesome.
Okay, I'm going to switch back down to my face so I can send us off in a lovely little manner. Where's my little rotate? There we go. Hey, we are. Your birds calmed down.
They did. That's because my kid got home.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
Now they'll probably like immediately go to sleep because they're like, yay, he's here, we can relax.
So thank you so much for joining me tonight. This was lovely. I'm glad I got to meet you and chat with you. I know that it's probably late there now too. I mean, it's what, 8:50? No, you're still 9:59. You're
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I know that you're used to late nights some nights, so you can.
Yes. Now I've been wimpy lately because I get up at 5 first because it's at high school.
Oh.
And so since the time change, at like 6:30, I'm like, I can't make it till 9.
Oh,
so I've been trying to make myself stay up till 9. So I thought there's no way I would be able to hang out this long, but it went by fast.
Okay. Well, then you need to get some sleep because you got school in the morning. And I appreciate you taking the time and the chat. And I hope you have a lovely night. And if you end up posting anything, tag me with it, and I'll do the same so we get to see. And otherwise, we'll be in touch.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on. It was great to chat and get to know each other. I appreciate it.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah. Night.
And before it cuts me off, Jashar Awan on next episode, next Thursday. Come join us. Good night. Bye, everybody.